It's ominous. Oh, well, I think we're live. So that's a positive. Look at any other TV programmes saying like this on important television. We've got an extra chair at the moment. We're hoping we'll have someone else in. 29 people are watching already, and we haven't even done anything. I'm just going to move the camera across. You can't see it properly. Is this like when, this is for our younger listeners, is this like when Roy Hattersley was on Have I Got News For You and didn't turn up?
Tub of lard.
And they replaced him with a tub of lard. There's one for the younger viewers. Right, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube as ever because it is Forty20 Live. We're all very excited and positive because we are all about positivity. There's no negativity in rugby league, certainly not any room for it in this building whatsoever. That's the message, isn't it?
I think the corporate message of the sport is negative banned, positive in comes to the games. I think what we've got is a dose of realism. Don't have a problem with that.
We do that, yeah, that's true. We like realism.
I think we're rejuvenated. I think we've had after the first weekend of the test series, I think there was a feeling that everything was a little bit fatigued with the sport, that it had been a long season, that it hadn't been a top class game at Hull. It was a good test match, but there was a feeling that permeated it that all the things around it were less than exciting. But we are all raring to go and rejuvenated after what happened, not just yesterday, but this entire weekend, where International Rugby League is back to the top of the agenda.
Oh, for sure, Phil. I'm not fatigued. No way, mate. I don't think anybody should be fatigued, to be honest with you. You know, it's, as I keep saying, week in and week out, it's only 80 minutes of rugby league. They should not be tired. They're full-time professionals, Phil. Never mind. It's only.
No, it wasn't so much.
It's only 30 odd games, but also true. But the fact of the matter is, brilliant win again from England yesterday, and wrapping up the series, and the comments that are coming out, and looking at Wayne Bennett here. Bennett demands more international rugby league, and I'm demanding more rugby league, and also too, I'm demanding that the Aussies are
Don't go early.
I'm telling you, the Aussies, they've got to be told, England want you. England want you, and for many, many years, how many times would we have said that? Not too many, I can reassure you. Not too many from there, and I say the way this side is going, the way the side is playing, I think the way Wayne Bennett has got his philosophies over to this England side, because there's three big things coming out from these performances from mine. It has took a bit of time from Wayne, and he will admit that, because his comment after the game was, yes, now the players are understanding how they should be playing in massive important games. And what I saw yesterday, when we was 14-6 down, there's three big things I saw yesterday. There was no panic.
No, absolutely not.
They were patient, and then when the opportunities come along, they took them opportunities. And also what Wayne Bennett has wanted from this England side, because that's what he's got when he's in the NRL. That's what he's had when he's at Queensland, and that's what he's had when he's Australia. It's simple.
And New Zealand in 2008.
Well, New Zealand in 2008, the philosophy of what he brought in from there and there. But what Wayne has got from his players is simple. It's that belief. And the longer you stay in the game and keep doing what I have asked you to do, then they will win the games. And that's exactly what they did yesterday. And I listened to the interview before the game yesterday with Tanya Arnold, and it was great from Wayne Bennett because it was simple. Tanya Arnold asked him the question, Wayne, for today's game, we're going to do anything different. He went, I'm doing nothing different. All I want the players to do is be better what they are doing for longer periods in the game. That's what you get in the NRL. But that's exactly now what he's getting. The philosophy for the England players has been outstanding.
Changed it at half time was that all of the players were saying he did get quite animated with them because he felt that they'd underperformed. So he wanted them to go out in the second half and do exactly what he knew that they could do, and that infused them with such belief. But I think there are a couple of things. One is we shouldn't underestimate the fact that this is a very good New Zealand team.
It's a very good New Zealand side.
And that in people like Brandon Smith, who is their next great cab off the rank, he is some hooker. And Dallin Watine-Zelezniak, who is class. They have got some world-class players in their team. So, sometimes the Kiwis have come over with less than full squads and haven't toured as well as they played at home. But this is a quality New Zealand squad. That's the first thing, that we beat them in 2 games. This is a team that came off the back of beating Australia, so no mugs. And I think the other thing is, when you come from 8 points behind, when you're playing one of the other Tier 1 nations, and you are looking stronger as the final whistle goes, that tells you how far you've come. So, what is it, 2 years ago maybe, that England would have been in that situation. You'd be thinking, oh, they're going to get just done in the last minute. They're going to give away a penalty or field position, or somebody's going to make a mistake. But they got stronger as that game went on, and by the end it was the New Zealanders that couldn't put a move together. I think that's really important. Then you add into the fact that 8, maybe 9, who you might call first choice England players, if they were all fit and available, would be added to that mix. They may not play now, which is what we were saying, competition for places.
Well, this is what I was saying to you, Phil, right? When you look at the players who are missing, right, let's look at the half-backs for the situation, because, yeah, when Bennett picked Tompkins at scrum half, we went, what? You know, he's been playing outstanding at full-backs. But anyway, Bennett's seen something there from there. So you look at the way the half-backs have played these 2 games, in Williams and Tompkins, outstanding.
Williams
outstanding.
got better as the game went.
Yeah, so you'd ask the question, because Luke Gale hasn't looked at an international player. He seems to be where Bennett wants to play this, you know, this type of game, and it doesn't suit Luke Gale the way he's coached at Castleford. We all know what he brings from there, but the halfbacks have been very, very good. You look at Ryan Hall, look at the way Makins has been played. Sam Burgess, yeah, you'd sling Sam in there anyway. It doesn't matter.
Although, to be fair, what you would say is that back 3 yesterday were. I mean, Whitehead has a chance of winning a Golden Boot, would deserve it if he did. Bateman is just absolutely completely fearless.
He's a freak.
And Thompson was fantastic.
Well, Luke
yesterday.
Thompson, you know, right? He looks as though he's been playing Test football for around 6 years. He's not intimidated.
No.
He absolutely loves the physicality. And you know what? When I read about the comments through the weekend, when he said, you know what, this is what I've been waiting for. I wanted this opportunity, and I tell you what, boy oh boy, did he grab this opportunity with 2 hands, and that's what you want from there. But also as well, again from Wayne Bennett saying more international games. Please, the Rugby League International Federation, please.
They're all here.
Please.
They're probably tuning in.
You've got a meeting at York, is it Thursday or Friday?
They've got an AGM in Leeds, and they've got a Congress in York.
Please, the Rugby League International Federation, please do not make an absolute balls of this meeting on Thursday, because you know yourself what players have been saying after the game on Saturday. They want more international games. They want to be on the international scene. They want to be live on national television. They want their profiles out there. Isn't that what we want from Rugby League? And when you see, I tell you, because the BBC coverage on Sunday was outstanding, and I say Mark Chapman said
1.7 million people.
And Mark Chapman, you know, I tell you know what a great production what he brings as well, and his knowledge from there and the questions what he puts to the panel. And he was saying, you've got superstars in the sport. You've got superstars, but that's what international rugby league brings. So please, the Rugby League International Federation on Thursday or Friday, whatever the meeting is, do not make a balls of this. And if I tell you what, and if Australia don't want to be part of this calendar, say see you later. See you later, because you know what? There's another 12 or 13 sides who want to be part of it.
I think there's 2 things. Makinson's performance was outstanding. In the first half, his defence was unbelievable. Helped keep them in the game. And that's another aspect that Bennett was pleased about, even though he was annoyed that they had to do us so much defending. That they just stayed strong. And you know, to be level at half time when you've had I think 35% possession was astonishing. Just as the defending. So Makinson makes his name with his fearless defence, and then scores 3 top quality tries. Obviously, some of them around it are made by beautiful flip passes. But the last one where he cut inside was a wonderful winger's try. If he'd done that, well, he has done that a lot of weeks for St Helens, and it doesn't project him any further than he is in our domestic competition.
Correct.
What he did on the world stage with 1.7 million people watching yesterday, that's where we need to now take advantage of that.
Well, even this morning when I was watching the BBC News and the Salem Sports part as well this morning, around about 7:30, he just said, you know, England yesterday, and not just England, but the Test match itself, they were saying what a superb advert it was for sport in general. But that's what we needed. But that's what the international.
But you can only get that through.
Correct. That's what the international game brings. Forget about the club football. You know, the club football's totally different. International sport is what it's all about, because when you look at all the other sports, forget about football because we know with the Premier League and all with the money from there. But you look at the other code. The international game brings all the finances. All their clubs are skin.
But
you look at cricket, exactly the same with the deal what they have with Sky.
I think they are in danger of over-egging their pudding. That they now have too much international rugby league.
I'm not sure about that. They don't play
rugby union or international.
They only play 80 a year, Phil.
Yeah, but why did Wales play Scotland this week? Again, that they play every single year. You want to see things with us. This is the one problem with this Test series, is we're playing New Zealand again, who we seem to always play. But at least it's been good.
I don't really have a problem with that. I think what is the key issue is that we haven't played at home for 2 years. And the calendar as being proposed would mean on the back of this wonderful series where we've just got to know who people are, we probably won't be playing at home for another 2 years. There might be a mid-season match against France, but
What's the point in that though, Phil? What's the point
so
in that?
here's the question. 2019 hasn't been signed off yet. The Lions are supposed to come back.
It's got to come
Which
back.
would mean that we would go to the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Would you now, on the back of this test series, bearing in mind that we've created a real buzz around
Yeah.
the way this England team is playing, would you now have the Kangaroos here in 2019?
Do you know what?
And then go on the Lions tour in 2020? Because the Lions have been gone since 2007. So if it was another year, would it matter? Should we now be saying, let's bring the Kangaroos here?
I wouldn't have any hesitation of putting the Lions back another 12 months if it means the Aussies coming over here for an Ashes test series. Because I tell you what, come on Mel, you're a big advocate of International Rugby League. I tell you what mate, listen, don't be fearful, because I reckon we will do the Aussies. I reckon we will do the Aussies, because when you look at that side, the forward pack cannot intimidate us anymore. The impact off the bench cannot intimidate us anymore. And certainly when you look at the outside backs and the full back, all right, Tedesco, it's something special. But the big problem is for the Australians is their half-back situation. And when you look at the Aussies, and the Aussies will know this, they're not stupid, they know this. Billy Slater, irreplaceable. Greg Inglis, irreplaceable. All right, he might come back as captain, but he's nowhere near the Greg Inglis of what we know. And then you've got the big three. Jonathan Thurston, irreplaceable, Cooper Cronk, and also to Cameron Smith. And one thing for sure here now, the Aussies know they cannot replace the big five. What we have got belief now that we are good enough. We have got players in the NRL themselves know what intense rugby league is all about. We've got a coach who are telling the players who play in Super League where the intensity is not there week in and week out, but they know what it's all about when semi-final football comes around, that yes, they can go to the next level. And I'll tell you, we have got the Aussies running scared. I want the Aussies next year, whether it's over there or over here. If it's Great Britain the Lions year after, I'll wait for that. Bring the Aussies on. And I'll tell you, Ashes series, we win the Ashes next year.
But isn't that what we want? For 40 odd years, the Aussies have known
that
if they turn up and play, they win. That when they lose, it's because perhaps they've got a few injured or they don't have the top. But when their top liners are there, they win.
Phil, they haven't got them anymore.
Now
they haven't got them.
We can't.
They haven't got them.
And we're not getting overexcited because we've won one Test match against you. I think it's the way we've won it. Isn't that what's the most important thing?
Absolutely. And as I say, what Wayne Bennett said and the philosophy of what he's bringing. And people are saying on Twitter about Scully, the way you've gone on about Wayne Bennett. Hey, listen, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it for the last time. I have never ever said Wayne Bennett about being a coach. Wayne Bennett has been, if not the best coach that's ever been in rugby league. There's no two ways about that. But all I did was question some of the tactics and also some of the team selections.
Do you think that
that's all I've done?
In hindsight, he was trying to get to where we are today. That he knew he wasn't there when he took the job, and he needed to get that belief system in some of the players, and that he looked at maybe ones over others and said, I know I can work with this guy because they get it, and I'm not sure about this guy, it might take a while, and he's trying to. Because I think somebody like Makinson, who every time you speak to him about what does Wayne Bennett do for you, he says, just inspires me. Once Wayne Bennett says, I've picked you for a reason, because I've seen what you can do, and you get what I'm about, you feel 10 feet tall. He
hadn't seen him tackle though, because even himself said, where's that tackle come from Proctor? But also to
But that's not wanting to let your mates down.
But also as well though, that's not because Wayne's been coaching for how long? 35, 40 years. He's identified that from a man management point of view, and I've seen something there because, and I say last year at the World Cup, everybody kept going on and going on. Why is Biggie Behrman at centre? I was the biggest advocate of it. Why did Biggie Behrman at centre? Because he didn't believe anybody else could do the job what Behrman wanted to do defensive wise. But now he brings the best. Everybody will tell you, whoever's worked under Wayne Bennett, they will tell you what he brought to them, not just to the team, but also to as an individual. So that is not an issue whatsoever. But now, after the 2 years what he's been in charge, the players are getting in. So they say they're being patient, they're not panicking.
Absolutely.
And when the time arises to make that big play, they're coming up with the answers.
The Connor tip-on pass was probably the big play of the game.
Well, that's not coach.
No, but to have the confidence to do that in that arena. I mean, you know that when you're in that scrutiny, you don't play at that level. You're exhausted because you're being hit by guys more often who are bigger and more intense than you ever come up with on a weekly basis, to still have the composure and trust in your belief in your skill systems. So that when that ball came, just to tip it on. You know, you can't coach it, but you can give the guy the belief that he can still do it under pressure.
But that's what quality players can do, and he's a quality player. Jake Connor, don't worry about that.
Yes.
But also as well, George Williams, when he created that try, you know what? George, every time George gets the ball, he's always asking 3 questions of the defence. Because if you watch how he holds the ball out here. So it's either he's going to the line and going through himself with a dummy, or he's looking to kick it. But then thirdly, he's looking to pass. And I would imagine, when he was looking, and I would imagine then, they thought, oh, please don't sling the speculator across. But George knew exactly what he was doing. He could see the defenders aware that he was just going across the field.
Yeah.
Absolute piece of pass with a great finish on there.
Helped by Lomax, who I thought his linking was brilliant. His
like a second stand-up.
His footwork put them in decision in the defensive line, brought the centre in, and then his pass was a great one for Connor to tip on. But all of them executing it brilliantly under pressure. We haven't done that enough, but...
Well, you look at that try what Connor scored, that was just a nice little Canberra player. Hodgson and Whitehead, Dodgers give him a nod that we've seen him down here, create the 3-on-2. Sensational play, but that's what players do, and for me, yesterday's performance by Hodgson, that was the best I've seen him in England jersey. Yeah. Because and whether it was right with Darryl Clark getting injured and whatever there, but I think that was a bonus for England, because when Clarkey went on, Hodgson again will get to first man, they were just losing the shape a little bit. Hodgson is sensational hooker, and yesterday the way he just had a look, had a ball peep, said to Whitehead, just stay on the left hand side here. Brilliant play from Whitehead as well, great pass to Connor. But that's what they do. That's what the quality players. That's all what they do.
Do come in.
You can't see what's happening behind the goal, Tom.
We're here now, another quality player here.
While Paul gets sat down, here's Martin's here to really have here he is to say exactly what we're all thinking, because you started us off, we're all excited, Rugby League is great, International Rugby League. Here we go again, says Martin. Rugby League's Groundhog Day, or as we also know it, November, when everyone realises the power of the international game and begins demanding more of it and a long-term calendar, etc. This week the international board meets and will no doubt make some comments about forming such a plan before we realise we need Australia to buy in. December arrives and all reverts back to normal as if the last month never happened. Come on all, especially Australian, do something for the wider game for once. You never know, it could benefit the NRL to have a thriving international scene.
It's not just Australia though, is it? I mean, our fixtures come out tomorrow, and you would ask the question, could that not be delayed a week until the international season is finished? I know clubs want to get season tickets on sale and replica jerseys sold and trips to Catalan booked, but would it have mattered if it had been another few days and we focused solely on the international game? But when those fixtures come out, the domestic season will start on the 31st of January. So it's not just the Aussies, we're culpable as well. How much did you enjoy yesterday's performance? We were just talking about, never mind the implications for International Rugby League, that's a different England team that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, they're playing tough. I think that's the word that's been used by lots and lots of people, and I don't think they've had any right to win either game. I think they've just really stuck in there as a group and waited for an opportunity, and they've had some really, really good performers. I thought Elliot Whitehead yesterday was outstanding. Josh Hodgson, obviously Tom Makinson gets the headlines with the hat-trick, but as a group they're just really tough to beat, and whatever Wayne Bennett's done and the way he's done it, for me makes him a great coach. He's brought them together.
Yeah. And how much time should we have allowed him? Because he arrives, he picks the players that he thinks he can work with, he picks some of them out of position. There's a lot of questions saying, does the bloke still know what he's doing?
Mm-hmm.
How long should we have given him?
Well, we've given him long enough.
And has he now delivered?
Well, I think so. I don't think there's any question. What I will say is that Steve McNamara was the last coach, and he also won a series against New Zealand, the 3-match series. So, in terms of something that's measurable, then he's on the same level, if you like, as Steve McNamara. But there just feels a different feeling about this group of players, and about, when you consider the blokes that are missing.
That's what we said at the beginning.
When there's the quality players that are missing from the group, Sam Burgess, Luke Gale, who's been sensational. Gareth Widdop, another one who's been fantastic in the NRL for St George, but also for England when he's played. And then you see the blokes that are missing out in Stephen Ratchford, who's been outstanding for him, and it just feels that we're building towards something. And I think the coaching staff as a group, not just Wayne Bennett, but the coaching staff as a group, deserve a great deal of credit for that.
Would you keep him on after 2019? I mean, his contract at the moment is deliberately, let's see where we are halfway through, but is he already saying, now that he's got the Souths gig, they obviously think in the NRL that he's still got mileage in him, should he be the coach of the 2021 World Cup, on the basis of what you're seeing?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the one thing you get with Wayne Bennett, and I don't know him personally, I don't think anybody really knows him personally from the broadcasting and media side, is he'll only do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I'd love him to be in charge. I think, as I said, I think what he's done and what they've created as a group and however he's done it, I'm picking his brain for a few hours on it.
Tell you what as well, Cookie, when you mentioned the word tough from there, I just mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, Luke Thompson, he looks like he's been playing test football for about 6 years, hasn't he?
Well, he looks like he's made for it, doesn't he? He looks like he's made for big games, and I think the one thing with Luke is, I've watched him against Huddersfield, I've seen him play live against Wigan, and there's very little in terms of his performance that differs. And I obviously watched him closely again at the weekend. Very little differs whether he's playing against Huddersfield round 2 in February or internationally against New Zealand on the biggest and bestest stage. He's got one gear only, forward and quick, and
He doesn't have to play the ball quickly as well.
he wins rucks, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He wins rucks. And when you look at the international game, you look at the front rows, your Jesse Bromwich and players of that ilk, they're big and strong athletes, a little bit of footwear, but Luke's got a little bit of that in him, but he's certainly just tough to play against and tough to manage from a defensive point of view. And I don't think it'll be long before the NRL to come and have a look. And I don't think there's a great deal we can do about that. We've got to deal with it as a
Is
sport.
one of the things we can do, I mean, we'll talk about it all night, play more international rugby?
Well, I certainly feel that we play too many domestic games. And I don't know why we play too many domestic games, because we could spread it out over the season and still manage the fixtures with Sky. So there could still be fixtures with Sky, but the odd weekend off for players. I think that'll certainly help with the quality of games. If we play less of them, I think the fans are more likely to stop picking and choosing some of the fixtures. If there's less of a Wigan Saints derby that everybody loves, or a Hull KR, or Wakefield Castleford, then that 1 or 2 games a season, or one home, one away game, makes a big difference to fans going to support their club. So I think there's a way that we can look after the athletes, and I think that's part of that agenda would then have a better effect on international rugby league when players are a little bit more fresh. We're seeing the best players in the world playing a little bit more fresh. The NRL players are obviously a little bit more fresh because of the play less games, and that's just simple. It's just simple.
I think the other thing we should add into the debate is that it wasn't just one game this weekend. I think we've had 4 internationals, starting with Scotland and Wales, which again, we're talking about now players who are getting an opportunity from the domestic game in those countries, which is great to see, but there were 2 evenly matched sides, even though Wales ran away with it in the second half, playing really good rugby. Then had Ireland and France, which is another good game on Saturday, and France have now qualified for the World Cup, which is great, but it sets up Wales against Ireland next week. And we have the England Knights, who got beaten in the second round, but they were in PNG, but everybody is saying what a fantastic experience we've had, and it doesn't do any harm for PNG to win a home test match against a team with England on their shirts.
I was fortunate enough in 2002 to tour the South Sea Islands with a group of players that I think probably 90% of them went on to play more than 200, 300 Super League games. So I think it's a valuable experience for the younger players. It prepares them for time away from family and friends and home comforts in World Cups if it's over there in the Southern Hemisphere. And that's big to deal with, particularly for homegrown players who play within their own city or their own town. So I found it a really valuable experience back in 2002, and I'm sure the England Knights players not only enjoyed the experience that they've had, but are thriving for more and are hungry to play a full international
And
level.
is that how we keep them in our game?
Absolutely.
These are the incentives that we can give them. That it isn't always about money. Sometimes it's about money is absolutely important. For what they do, they deserve to be paid.
Well, but also we keep talking about these pathways, don't we? Yeah. So. Like going back to when I first started out, my pathway went through the BAL system, then I signed when I was 18, but then with the professional code, with the Colts, and then it was in the 24s, and then it was a senior level. So that was your pathway graduation. But the Cold States all Papua New Guinea, and then under 24s they played France or wherever from there. So it's a pathway what you're leading to. And I would imagine all the lads, the England Knights, they experience what they've had in New Guinea for the last 2.5 weeks. I'm hoping all them players, realistically, do a remit, send it to Ralph Rimmer, send it to the Rugby League International Federation and say, listen, we want more of this. Next year we'd like to go to Fiji, we'd like to go to Samoa, because not just making them better people, you would say, with being away from home and learning different cultures, but also to the camaraderie and respect what they'll get from each other from there. And this is a pathway for these fellas, and also as well, the pathway where they want to get to is being an international, a full international from there. And it'd be a great learning curve for him, but also as well, they would have played against some decent quality hard rugby league players in Papua New Guinea. I can reassure you it would have been a great learning curve for him. But if this is a pathway we must go, the international calendar has to be taken very seriously. I just said earlier, Cookie, the International Federation meet this week, but it's Thursday or Friday. And I'm saying we've got to have the Aussies next year. We've got to have the Aussies and put the British Lions off maybe for 12 months, and then we go tour in New Zealand in them. But the Aussies, for me now, what they've seen, because the Aussies are missing the 5 champion players and what they've lost. English, all right, he may come back, but he's nowhere near what it was. Billy Slater's irreplaceable. All right, Tedesco's getting there, but he's nowhere near yet. Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk, and John McPherson. The Aussies, for me now, I reckon they're fearful of us because they know exactly the quality of what Wayne Bennett's bringing to this side, and what Wayne Bennett has brought on three massive things for me is the patience, also to the ability to strike when it's there on the occasion to score the tries, and also to, as I say, the quality of international football and playing for the full 80 minutes. And I'm hoping that the Rugby League International Federation don't make a balls of this meeting on Friday because the players want international rugby league and they want to go on tour.
So do the fans. That's the other thing that we saw. I mean, keen to get your opinion of the atmosphere at Hull, and I don't think you can blame either of the two Hull clubs. They were the bulk of the crowd, but it wasn't as vibrant as it was going to Anfield. And yes, it would be lovely to have had 52,000 there. It would have been sensational. It would have looked fantastic. But once that game started picking up momentum, everybody in the crowd got behind it. And I think as we were walking away from the game, we were saying it's different being at Anfield because you don't come here every week. You know, you go to the KC 2, 3, 4 times a year, but we need to play our international games at venues that feel a little bit different as well. And I think that's part of the buy-in.
You know what?
It's for the fans, but it's also
do you know
for the
what?
players.
Right, well, do you know what? The International Federation this week, if they announced the week after that the Aussies were coming next year, I'll tell you what, the KC, Liverpool and Ellen Road will be sell out straight away.
Yeah, well, we don't go to KC.
You wouldn't have it.
We don't go
You'd
there.
have to have a game in London against the Aussies.
Why? Why?
Because there's such a big expat community, and I think.
No, I don't buy into that.
But if
I
you've
don't buy
got
into
12 months to sell it, if you're again, I say you go to a
Well,
different
is there
venue.
any excuse
if
for
you-
not selling against
Exactly.
the Aussies? I
Well,
don't
and
think
you
there
go
is.
to Arsenal, where even established rugby league fans have never been to. You'll sell that out. The trouble is, we don't know in advance when these fixtures are going to be, so we don't have the ability to market them. In
But
the
now
way
we've
that
got
we
this
should.
opportunity though to give it 12 months, haven't we?
Yeah.
To give it 12 months.
But the question is, the Lions is important. We
massively.
and we should reclaim it.
But
I would put them off for a year to bring the Kangaroos here.
I agree to a certain degree that you need time to sell out stadiums, but I wrote an article in our local press in Hull about the atmosphere and about. I was in London with where pre-game first test, and I tried to find out, and I'm quite savvy. I think I'm okay on the internet. I'm not the world's best, but I couldn't find the teams. I couldn't find the New Zealand team. I, for the life of me, couldn't find what I needed, information I needed to do a radio interview, sat in a hotel room in London. Now, we've had enough time to sell. We've had enough time. And I saw one promotion by Jamie Peacock, which I thought was fantastic before the first test. And every time I go on social media now, it's the journalists, the broadcasters, the agents, and everybody but the bloody RFL that are trying to drum up support for this game. And I don't get it.
I think their
I
social
don't get
media
it.
team have done quite a good job this week.
Yeah, this week.
But I think what happened in the first week was a shock to everybody.
Absolutely.
That you
The
can't
crowd,
sit back and just
yeah.
because it's Hull, you just
Yeah.
can't wait for
The
people.
crowd
that's
was
not just
6,000
international.
down on last
But
test
that's
match.
rugby league.
Yeah.
We all need to work hard
Absolutely.
to tell people about the sport. But
But I want to hear from Peacock. I want to hear from
Yeah.
Gareth Ellis. But I also want to hear from Luke Thompson, and I want to hear from
Absolutely.
Jermaine McGilvey. I want it ramming down my throat.
So, well, last
I want
week-
it so that I don't know anything else other than
But
this
like-
game's going on
But
this
like
weekend.
last week, Cookie, what we said was, about the players doing interviews.
Yeah.
Players want to do interviews for television,
Mm.
for
The
radio,
New
for
Zealanders
newspapers.
didn't.
No, they want.
New Zealand didn't
listen,
get
well, let's
We're
not
not trying to sell
well,
New
forget
Zealand.
that.
We're trying to sell English rugby.
No,
we
we
were
were
trying to get
say,
some quotes.
but also too, we get like from clubs. You can only have them for 5 minutes. Like back in my day, I'm sure we all days. We will like this. Who wants an interview? Who wants this? Who wants that? We've got to tell people what we've
About
got.
the game, yeah.
We've got to tell people about the products.
But the
And-
game's
and
got to
it's-
tell the game. The
I
game's
agree,
got to tell
totally.
the people for me.
Absolutely, we've
The-
got to
the
sleep down people's
responsibility.
necks. We've got
Yeah.
the responsibility to tell them about the
which
products
is
what
why
we've got.
your comments about calling out the Aussies was exactly right, because that story is already broken in Australia.
It's all right.
That league legend says the Aussies are running scared. Well, how are we going to get a response from Mal and the Australian press? How are we going to build
I'll
this?
tell you
up?
how we get the response. My
Because-
Aussies saying, I'll tell you what, we're not running scared of you.
Exactly.
We're coming
We'll
over.
come- yeah,
We're coming over, or you come to us,
But
but
that's
whichever.
promote- that's
Whichever.
marketing.
Unless you
That's
say
what it's all
that,
about.
unless you say that, Scott,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
I think there's a massive opportunity with
But
you.
also as well, I'm not saying it just for a reaction. I'm saying it because I'll tell you what, England will beat Australia. If they play next year, England will beat Australia. They are fearless of us.
My guess is John Davidson's already replied to that.
Possibly. A few things. I'm going to go back to the Scotland game we make, but Nicholas, our man in Canada,
Yes.
says the England-New Zealand matches weren't available on TV in Canada. No network was willing to pay the money for the rights. Should the governing bodies offer the product for nothing in some markets to get some eyes on the sport? Yes, Nicholas, that's an easy question to answer.
Although we do have to say, to balance that, Fox did take the European
They did.
Nations game. So if you've got a product and it can be presented to the broadcaster that it's going to enhance their offering, then they will take it. And international does strike a chord.
Before I move on to that, I need to mention the fact that we beat the Australians at the weekend. We beat the Royal Navy,
On the Royal Navy, I saw that,
36-20.
yeah, I saw that.
That
Two
would have been
more
a good
test
game to
matches.
string.
It would have been a good. We're not doing negativity yet. We'll do that
No, I'm
later.
saying it would have been a good game.
We'll put that into our Channel 4 section. Stay tuned for that, listener. They play in Portsmouth on Wednesday and Saturday at 7 and 3 p.m. respectively. So if you're one of our southern listeners or viewers, I still can't get the hang of this, go down and watch them and support our Navy stuff, the Aussies. Alex says International Rugby League was alive and well in Gala on Friday. 750 in attendance despite Edinburgh and Glasgow having home games and Wales versus Scotland Rugby Union in Cardiff. The atmosphere was amazing despite the temperature and the result. Scotland needs more games, not only to bring our domestic boys through, but also to build on the game. We've had one game in Scotland in the past 2 years. We feel your pain. There's plenty of appetite up here. We just need the exposure, which on Friday was a good start. He's the madman in the kilt. I don't know if you saw him.
I remember that. Who said he very kindly tuned into the
well.
the show. Stockmark and Iron said he will be listening, so it's good to meet you.
Lots of positive comments about the commentary from the weekend on the European Championship / World Cup qualifiers. The French have qualified now with their
Because
victory over
World Cup lends itself. I think we've got the Canadians, the Americans, the Jamaicans, and the Chileans for the first time starting their World Cup qualifiers in about 10 days' time. They'll be streamed, so look out for it. It won't be on a major channel, but you get momentum with international rugby league. You can get into areas where normally you wouldn't. So the one thing I would say is that Super League, there's always collateral damage, and Super League coming in with the bang that it did, it's now at a crossroads and looking at where it goes. The damage was international rugby league. That has taken the back seat for the last 25, 30 years. The club game has been promoted at the expense of internationals. Because we are at a crossroads, because we now do have a new chief executive of Super League, because theoretically the sheet of paper is blanker than it was maybe last year, do we need to impress upon them now the need that internationals will help them promote the domestic game and start to turn that around a little bit?
Without doubt, and also as well, I think it's got to come from the players as well. To say to the clubs, hey, listen, but I'd say we have a rugby league players association. It's the same with Australians; they have a big rugby league association, but whether they listen to it, I don't really know, to be honest with you. But again, it's got to come from the players. Say, hey, listen, we need to, and we want more international games because what I've heard about the two St Helens players, you know, from a point of view where the two St Helens players who haven't been playing for Wales, the Regan Grace and Knowles, I was told last week by a good source that if they went to play for Wales in these qualifiers, the position at St Helens next year might be in jeopardy. These two kids are only 21 years of age. They want to play international rugby league. How pathetic is that?
Well, they could have helped their nation get to a World Cup in 2020.
But
there will be stars.
Players want to play. They want to play on the biggest stage. It's absolutely pathetic. So the clubs have to start listening to players. You know, because at the end of the day, if we play 30 odd games or 34 or whatever games they play, the players will still make themselves available for their country. So clubs have to start listening and take notice of players.
But for us to be effective against the likes of the other Tier 1 nations, and we need to play Tonga again soon because it'll just be a memory, that fantastic semi-final at South. So we have to have a rematch at some stage. Then. If for us to remain competitive, for our pool of talent to increase, they can't be playing 35 games a year against guys who are only playing 25 games a year. So you've got to... Who is going to impress upon Rob Elston and the 12 Super League chairman owners that actually what's happened this weekend is slightly more significant than who might win Super League next year? Who starts that debate? Bearing in mind we've now got split governance, and the worry was always that the clubs and Rob are looking after one product, and now the RFL's looking after another, and we need them to work together.
Well, it's not going to work together because at the end of the day, clubs couldn't care less about the international calendar. They couldn't care less about the international game because it doesn't bring them any money. But also as well, let's not forget, the Super League clubs are loaning these players to the international setup from there. But at the end of the day, the players are the products, and it's them who are causing, the players who are causing this euphoria, what we've got at this moment in time. And as I say, when you look at the other sports, I watched the other code on Saturday, that load of rubbish. You know what I mean?
Shoulder challenge, wasn't it? Owen Farrell got away with that. He got away with that.
It was no really good tackle, that.
If he'd have been South Africa,
but I watched that load of rubbish from there, from a point of view, and you know, them players, you know, Cook is involved in that sport from there, and in that sport, they absolutely love playing international sport. You know, so the clubs have to start listening to the players, because at the end of the day, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter if the players are playing 30, 40 games. If they get picked to play international rugby league, they'll say, "I'm making myself available."
Yeah, it's very much at the
Simple
detriment of the clubs as well. I mean, we've got you know, I'm in a second tier rugby union team now, and we've just lost our number 8, our 10, our 9, one of our second rollers, and another tight head prop, who are all playing for the USA, Tonga, Samoa, and Fiji, respectively. And it hurts us now because we're in a period of 6 cup games where we lose them, but ultimately the international game drives the domestic game in rugby union. Fiji against England will sell out at Twickenham. Fiji against England would never sell out at Hull. It doesn't matter where you put it, but the players wouldn't sign contracts to our club if we didn't release them to play international football. It's as simple as that. And the players do have a big say. Yeah. And until the players of rugby league do have a big say, I think we're in trouble. But whether that's the number of games, whether that's the marketing of the game, whatever it is, the players are the product. And the better the players play, the easier it is to attract more money into the game. It's as simple as that. But and from my point of view, the better players that play each other from different nations, whether that's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 countries, whatever it may be, I want to see the best players play the best players.
Absolutely.
I want to see Sam Tompkins go up against Cody Nicarima, and I want to see Luke Gale do the same, and I want to see George Williams battle it out against, you know, whoever it is that plays for Australia in the halves with them two boys retiring.
Absolutely.
I want to see the best players play the best players. I want to see who comes out on top, and that for me brings more people into the sport.
If, when you were playing at your peak, a domestic coach had come to you and said, "You've been selected for your country, but I'd rather you didn't play,"
I'd probably just left the club. It's not my choice.
Isn't that the power that the players have?
Yeah.
That now, I mean, we did an interview with Jermaine McGilvery after the game, and I put it out, and it's had a lot of reaction, because he's basically saying, I mean, he's of an age now where he probably can turn around to his club and start determining the remainder of his career.
There's ever a level of performance as well. But they need him more than he needs them.
He's saying, you know, I want to play less domestic games. I want not only do I want to play more international, but I want these guys
So how
to
do you do
experience
it?
what I've
So
done.
how do you do it? The solution then is, and it's something so drastic as you strike.
Yeah.
2 minutes before a Sky
we
game.
wouldn't advocate that.
No, but what I'm
the
saying is,
players now need
yeah,
to
the
have
need
a,
of
because
bigger
this
voice.
discussion
Yeah.
is really important
Yeah.
at the moment about where the game goes and
what as Gary said, it's selfish. The clubs don't care about the international games, it brings them no money. Now, it's a very short-sighted approach to international rugby league or international game in any sport, because if the international game's strong and more people watch the sport, there'll be more revenue that comes
Absolutely.
into the sport because of it.
Absolutely.
It's a really short-sighted view that
there's an example of that
People
yesterday at Liverpool. One of the parties who were guests were people who were thinking of back in the 2021 World Cup.
Yeah.
Some of whom had never been to a live game
Yeah.
before. Some of them are representing companies who've never invested in rugby
Yeah.
league before. Well, if you take them to that, even with 26,000 people of that quality, of that drama, of
Yeah.
that excitement, and even the couple of occasions when
Yeah,
it
it was
was
spill
pushing
over.
and shoving,
Yeah.
which, you know, we're not condoning out and out violence, but that wasn't that.
It's test football.
That
Test
was
football.
what you want to see, and we saw again a neutral referee who allowed some things to go that perhaps wouldn't have been allowed to go.
yeah,
football.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
And we
too.
want that.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that of the 1.7 million people that were watching on telly, a proportion won't have seen any rugby league before. Of the corporates who turned up for the first time in Anfield who haven't experienced rugby league before, that's the level they want to get involved in. And if Castleford played Warrington 10 times next year, it wouldn't have that impact.
Nope.
So clubs might not care about the international game, but it can bring them something that the domestic game can't. Do we all need to get round the table and realise that that's where, you know, we say the whoever emailed in was right. We've said it every year for 30 years, but is this a turning point? That England are now able to sit at
Should
that
be.
top table?
Should be,
is
shouldn't
this the turning
It
point?
should be though, shouldn't it?
I'd hope so.
Absolutely.
And like Gary said about the Australians, I'm running scared and all the rest of it. I don't know whether we can beat them, but I want to find out.
Yeah, now's
I
a
wanna
very
see
good
them.
time to
Yeah,
play them.
Of course it is, and there'll be another,
There'll be a
group of
Brody
players that
Croft
come
and
from.
come
Of
in
course there will. Of course there will. But we are closer than we've ever been. When you look at results, and I said it earlier, the tangible and the touchable is Steve McNamara achieved the same. We lost 6-0 in a World Cup final.
Yeah.
When we're an ankle tap away. We were a video referee's decision away a couple of years ago. We ain't
Yes.
never been far off.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
right now there's just something that says back it. For me,
I'll tell you what as well, when you look at all the Aussie sports at this moment in time, right? When you look at the Australian sports at this moment in time, you look at their rugby union side, they're garbage. They can't beat anybody. You look at the cricket, if they're not cheating, they can't. If they're not cheating, if they're not cheating,
true, that.
if they're not cheating, they can't win. And now,
We beat them at netball as well.
and now the Aussies have lost the 5 big players. And I say now, from England's point, let's not forget New Zealand did a great job on them 3 weeks ago. And by the way, the scoreline 26-24 didn't justify the game. Didn't justify the game. And so now with this England side, with all our major players in the NRL and then the ones playing for you, Wigan Centellans, they all know the big games now. The philosophy it's taken Wayne Bennett 2 years to get that into them from a point of view where when the pressure's on, they are handling the pressure for a lot longer in the games. The opportunities that come along, they are taking them chances and they're being patient. I'm telling you, the Australians, the Rugby League side, the mighty Kangaroos, I'd say at this moment in time, they're not the mighty Kangaroos, they're little Joeys. They are frightened of the British Lion. They are getting fearless of the
I want
British
to play
Lion.
him tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're getting fearless of the British Lion, I'll tell you.
I am
Bring it
here
on, Big Mal. Bring it on, Big Mal.
To hand a touch of negative and pessimism. But was it the 2004 Tri-Nations final where we thought, we're going to beat them this time? Ray, this is some good news from Ray. Says, hi Tom, from my brother Stephen, who's watching the show right now. Stephen was very poorly last week when we last heard. So it's good to know he's watching.
Excellent.
Hope you're enjoying everything, Stephen.
I hope you like the new Wakefield shirt.
It's there,
Steve.
look. You might, well, you can't really see it on Facebook, but it's on YouTube. It's nice. Especially when I didn't pay for it, that's even better. I want it, but I didn't just
Did
go to the
Steve
shop
go in
and
the
nick
shop?
it.
Stole it.
Yeah, stole it. Nicholas says, this is a good point. Speaking of the players of the product, the Super League and the RFL need to start marketing the personalities. That drives interest, promotions, advertising, media right now is missing the boat on this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Johnny Lomax,
The media's the one that's driving it.
Mike
That's the problem.
Beacon.
You know, the journalists and the agents and everybody else, but the governing body are driving it for me. And I know they've put together some good stuff last week, but the week before I couldn't find anything, and
Well,
that baffled me.
and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think because there is a shortage of staff in an area
Yeah.
where other sports have a lot more
Yeah.
staff, so you have to decide what you want to spend your money on. If your money's limited, you make decisions. But I think if you're a business or if you're another sport, their media departments are a lot fuller than ours. But so we then have people who work very hard from event to event.
Yeah, yeah.
The event that they were at the week before the Test series started was the grand final. So if you don't start really have the resource to market your Test series until it's almost on you, you are reliant on England winning to then give you a bit of a momentum
But
into your next one.
we are paying people extra to do promotion
Players.
work. Players,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Do I
how,
never see them?
but
doing
how
any
does the
promotion for
world
anything.
know who Johnny Lomax is until he performs like he did yesterday?
Let's go back to
Chicken,
why
yeah.
do we put these things in the first?
You see also as well, Aaron Bauer, he's done a great piece, not just we summarising the game as well, but he's just, the league has dramatised and observed for months, if not years, if not decades, about the perfect league structure for the domestic game. The one that will unlock riches for the game and like more to the next level. Spoilers at no levels outside one's own, but this is the best one, my mates. Make no mistake about it, there's only one way to maximise rugby league potential, and it's not through lump fixtures. Seeing St Helens versus Wigan, Derby's 5 times a 16 in the season, it's not. It's all about the international calendar. It's a great piece from Aaron Bauer from there. So why aren't people listening?
Well,
why aren't they
But I
listening? The powers
also,
that be.
I think one thing again that's been a positive this week is that we now know that there will be a World Club Challenge. It will be here.
Yeah.
There's some fantastic Australian players coming over. The
Oh,
nearest
absolutely.
one to get to playing, half an Aussie Test side against half an English Test side is going to be Wigan against the Roosters. We can all buy tickets now because I think we'd all buy into it is Super League against the NRL, and that gap might be wide in the domestic competition, but internationally it isn't now. So why aren't we starting the season with that game? Why are we starting the season on the 31st of January, and 3 weeks into that season we get the World Club Challenge? Surely again, the Super League needs to start with a bang. Well, isn't the bang the World Club Challenge? Why again are we undermining one of our saleable, marketable products by playing two?
Well, first of all, the Aussies won't come that early anyway, will they? To be honest.
No,
with
no. So start the season with that game. And
Well,
you can only do that if you don't have lump
Yeah, but
fixtures.
they won't want to come that early anyway. The Aussies will from their game that they're trying to dictate, aren't they? But we've got we can send a big message. The Rugby League International Federation this week can send a big message to the Aussies. We want a part of it, or get lost.
Can the Rugby League International Federation stop fixtures clashing with other fixtures as well, as in Wales and Ireland playing at the same time as England and New Zealand?
Well,
Even
you
though
can,
we know those
you
things
can,
got
you
more-
can if you stop lump fixtures. You can manage it if you stop lump fixtures.
I also
If you
think
give
that
players a weekend here there.
you're right as well in that whoever decided that those two games should go up against each other, England and New Zealand in the third test, which was either going to be a decider or there's still the poignancy of it being Armistice Day and the Anzacs and the English on the same field together and all the resonance that brings. But at the same time, you're going to play another game where the winner gets to play in the World Cup. Now again, that's in our gift as a sport not to make that clash. I don't think many other sports would do that.
No.
And even speaking to John Keir yesterday and acknowledging that obviously some tickets have already been sold, some corporates already been sold, Wrexham Council put some money into that game. It's in everybody's interest if it doesn't go up against something that will completely obliterate it for media interest. Now that if we couldn't play that Saturday, then Friday night in Wrexham would have been just as good. I asked John if that would have affected his playing preparation, bearing in mind it gives him obviously 2 less days. He said no, because we only get really together for 3 days. If you tell me that we're doing it 2 days early, it doesn't really matter.
Because they won't be doing no fitness work. They'll just be, game plans.
They have to give them some
that's
time
all
off
a bit,
after
yeah,
the game
that's
that
all
they
a
play.
bit.
They bring them back, so they bring them back a couple of days early and play.
I'm delighted Cook is here tonight because I would ask him one question here now.
We're always delighted.
The black and whites. As well has got a bit of dilemma here because last week Jake Collar, he wants to play number 6.
Yeah.
He wants to. By all accounts, they said it to Albert Kelly. It was told brothers, tell Albert Kelly I want this number 6 jersey. That's great, isn't it?
I think he's a great half. I think
I would have played his coming now.
yeah, he is. And from speaking to Lee, and I don't think it's any secret, he can be as good as he wants to be, but he has to want to be it. So for me, there's a backhanded compliment in there along with a backhanded dig.
I think
Part
also
of his attitude.
I fully understand that, but I think after last week at Hull, when he got the taste of international rugby league, he's sensing now, thinking, you know what, I can be part of this now because I realise the potential what I've got. I'm going to make sure I use that potential.
Well, I do think Lee's got a wonderful dilemma in that if Albert Kelly decides to play silly beggars,
which could well and truly happen.
yeah, of course, there's form, no question, but he can flick him, simple. You're off, you're out, pal, gone. And probably the same with anybody else within the group. So he's got a luxury there that allows him to play a quality English young talent in the halves or in the centres or at fullback or at 13 or wherever he wants to play him, because he can play all their positions.
But what I'm saying is he wants to play number 6. Will he start him out at number 6? Will he shift Kelly?
It depends if Kelly comes back overweight or if he trains the house down, or if he plays to the level that he played 2 years ago when he was phenomenal and probably a half that was wanted by many clubs at the time. He probably started last season in the form which probably would have got him an NRL contract back home if he wanted to go back home, and then tailored off a little bit with injury or whatever. So I'd play Jake Connor in the halves.
So can Kelly play any other position for you?
No, I don't think so.
He's not one of these that could be.
It's a really interesting one because too many cooks, if you like. You cannot, and what you can't do is you can't split your cap too many ways. You can't have too many high earners, and Jake Connor will certainly now an international be a high earner. Albert Kelly will be up there. Mark Sneed will certainly be up there with the job he's done in the past. Hull FC have been successful, maybe now a victim of their own success, and with success brings upgrades to players' contracts. Whether they're on 20 grand and they go to 30, it's still an extra 10 grand, or whether they're on 50 and they go to 100, it's 50 grand. And certainly when you're a successful club, upgrades happen, and you can have less players but of better quality. You get a load of injuries, you get a season like last season. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for Hull and for Lee Radford, because the expectation is that they'll certainly be better than last season. And they're a club that's won trophies.
The playing squad dramatically.
No, not massively.
So they're going with effectively the same guys who lost 11 games at the end of last season.
Yeah, to a degree. Yes and no.
Some injured players
will come back in. So it's going to be an interesting year. I think Lee Radford knows he can't have a season like last year. I think the players know they can't have a season like last year, and the sooner they get a win early season, the better. The comment about Jake Connor is, for me, he can be anything he wants to be. He can play in the halves. It's a luxury that not many clubs will have with regard to quality player that can slide into any position and will be in your starting 13 in a position regardless.
Yeah.
So it's certainly
a
luxury.
To be involved.
Exactly that.
A different player when the ball is coming to him, and he can have an influence on it.
He's got everything, hasn't he? He can kick the ball. He can run the ball. He can.
Spoil.
He can be that nose. No, there isn't. He's a competitive player.
Yeah.
He has that edge to him. He can play with the football, pre-line, post-line. He can jump and catch a ball above anybody else. He's got all of the skills. It's
the try score was fantastically taken
phenomenal
yesterday.
Oh, that flick on, or whatever they call it.
But also the try that he scored.
So also as well, then, do you not think that he could go with Kelly and Connor halfbacks and leave Sneed out?
Possibly.
Different philosophy.
Possibly. If he wants to go out attack with not a great kicking game, if you like. He could do that. Again, that's a luxury that he's got, and he's afforded.
Because certainly the last second they've become far too predictable now. They're just waiting for Sneak to put across the big wingers and this sort of thing. I'm just thinking a bit of a different dimension of philosophy with them two from there. They've both got decent kicking game.
What's been evident of the 2 years that Hull have won the cup is why fix what's not broken. So that's won them 2 challenge cups back to back.
But they've been found out, haven't they?
In the semi-final,
they've lost
the same failing. Both semi-finals that were in, they could and perhaps should have won, and they didn't. And it was all we've learnt from that, but they haven't learnt from it because they didn't put that. Now again, personnel dictate. Yeah. We were saying probably a couple of weeks ago it's going to be a really strange start to next season, because unless something dramatic changes, 2 of the most successful coaches who've ever coached in Super League don't have a job.
Yeah.
That puts pressure on a coach in Super League, whoever it is, somebody who starts slowly. No, there is the spectre of 2 guys on
I agree with that to a certain degree, but there's pressure in whichever job you're in. For me, there's pressure on Danny Ward to try and avoid relegation. There's pressure on Catalan to get into the top 8 and 4.
Yeah.
There's pressure on Wakefield now to make the top 4. There's pressure on Hull FC to be better than there was last year and make the top 4. There's pressure on Warrington to try and go one better than what they've gone twice last year. There's pressure on everything. There's pressure on Wigan to try and win the comp again.
Yeah.
So there's a different degree of pressure. You know, regardless of other people that are out of work, there's a degree of pressure within the job. It's as simple as that, and it's a lonely place at times for them boys that are head coaches at clubs. So, you know, whilst there's a couple of blokes out of work, I don't think the pressure changes from within the job than what you're set
Just
from
makes
your
it
own.
slightly easier for the chairman to make that change.
But I don't think they're shy of pulling the trigger
No,
anyway.
that's
Let's
true.
be
That
honest.
is
I tell you what as well, I did say watching that other code on Saturday, and I said Sean when he's left the sport and he's gone to Scotland. Boy, oh boy. He must be, well, he won't be shaking his head because he's going to have a nice little paper from Scottish Rugby Union. We all know that. And he's got a nice,
It's only a consultant.
he's got a nice little pay there, but he must be thinking, bloody hell, have I got to watch this man every week and study and
Well, it's
defensive?
going to be a difficult
Yeah.
transition for him. I'm involved
It's
in the
gonna be
game
massive,
now,
isn't
and
I'm going to have it in Rugby Union. Instead of
yeah,
it's massive. It's a different sort of game. It's a totally different game.
well, there's a rule coming in this week for the Championship clubs playing in the Championship Cup that any tackle above the nipple, the line of the nipples, is going to be penalised with a penalty, a yellow card, or even a red card. If there's any contact to the head with shoulder, head on head. So the tackle technique and the concussion laws have been seriously looked at to a point where they're looking at this as a trial in our competition now to bring into the world of Rugby Union at international level. So straight away, the Owen Farrell tackle last weekend becomes a red card offence, a yellow card, red card offence. It's as simple as that. We've just looked at a couple this morning with our players saying if you don't lower your body height here, you're going to spend time in the sin bin or on the sidelines sent off. And that's going to be really difficult for Sean because the biggest thing you learn about Rugby Union and Rugby League is one, you hit to roll away, and one, you wrestle. And it's a big wrestling league, and there's no wrestling union, very little wrestle. You can't wrestle head on in union and try and hold them up anymore unless you're underneath the football with this rule coming in. So it's a really, really difficult game to understand anyway, without any other new laws. What I will say about the Rugby Union, which is different to our game, and you mentioned the referee on Sunday, the Australian referee, who didn't blow for penalties when Super League referees would have blown for penalties. And the one I remember more than any other one is the last tackle penalty where they've played the ball into one of the New Zealand players.
He just said,
And he waved
"Get
play
on."
on. It's milking a penalty, and if you've played the game, you understand it. And if you referee it in the right way, it's play on, and the players will soon forget about it. In Rugby Union, it's one law. It's as simple as that across the board. You know, Fiji against Samoa is refereed no different to England and South Africa. It's as simple as that. You may get a couple of little rule interpretations that are different in the southern and northern hemisphere, but we're playing off a different set of rules internationally to Super League as to NRL.
Yeah.
How can that be right for me?
We're not even sure if there's such a thing as a free play. In the first
Yeah.
test, you go, no, play on, and
Yeah.
you go, oh no, we don't play
No, we
that
don't
in
have that
international
rule.
rules.
Yeah. The 20-metre restart.
The
They
only
keep dead.
potential black mark over England's performance is the fact that late this afternoon George Burgess has been cited for
Yeah, it looked bad, didn't it?
You look good, that, did it?
grade D, which
You
is
can't
3
put
to
your
5
hands. Yeah,
matches.
you can't put your hands near somebody's eyes. And listen, I don't think for 1 minute that George Burgess just thought, "There's his eyes. I'll go for him." He's at the other side of him. What he's trying to do is wrestle, and he's trying to slow the ruck down. And his eyes are in a position, and he probably doesn't know they're in the eye.
But his hands
his
stayed
hands are in the eye.
His hands stayed
It's
there
not-
long though, didn't it?
it's
He
not-
stayed in that position for a while.
But he's
didn't
just wrestling, so I don't think he knows that he's got his hands in Zelezniak's eyes.
And
I
fair
don't-
play
I
to
believe that.
Zelezniak, he said he
Yeah, I don't think he
didn't
knew
make a
it.
deal of
But
it.
but
at
what I
all.
will say is, it's a 3 to 5 offence. You can't go near the eyes of an opponent, and not knowing that there is not an excuse.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't do that in the game. He's certainly going to miss the last Test match, and possibly some games for his club to carry over for.
And one of the things I did think was great about Wayne Bennett was he was asked, now that the series was tied up, would he be thinking of playing some of the squad guys? You know, would he give Ratchford a game who's had a good year? Would he give Tom Johnson a chance? No. Test jerseys are there.
See, we started a campaign yesterday.
And it isn't again that
Well,
important.
exactly.
You've got to have that, isn't it?
You know, this morning again, you know, he brought a smile to my face. Believe it or not, Wayne Bennett's brought a smile to my face.
Well,
you know.
we
It's
know,
also
we,
a face, you know,
we know what a big fan
you know, the
is.
follow what he's brought in, and you know the best what he's got. But then again, what he said about the Test jersey, he asked the question, you know, where we'd be making change next week. No, nowhere. Test jerseys are hard to get. They're valuable. You've got to earn that respect. It's like anything. You don't get respect. You've got to earn respect. and now you've got to earn this England jersey. And I'm absolutely delighted with that comment from Wayne Bennett. They're not confetti. Test jerseys aren't confetti.
Well,
They've got to be earned.
Speaking of internationals and Wayne's, Wayne Rooney's getting a special
Yeah, I was thinking that.
thing this weekend.
Yeah, coming out with
Or
title.
next weekend or whatever, against the USA. You're on 49 caps, and we know you're one short of the golden cap, which we're all looking forward to presenting on Wednesday.
I knew you were going to ask me. I knew you were going to ask me.
Well, if Wayne Bennett said to you, well, we're beating the New Zealanders now, they're no good. You fancy coming on for 5 minutes, do a bit of an Adam Milner? Would you accept it?
I think I play a bit better than Adam Milner, to be honest with you.
Cooper Cronk, you could just stand at the back and orchestrate.
Then go back up again.
It's
to
not-
the,
You can't say
it's
it's
not-
jerseys are confetti
it's
and come
not-
out with
it's
retirement
not-
and take
It's,
one.
exactly, I was going to say,
Can't
it's
cop
not,
that.
it's not really a serious question, is it, really?
No, it's
Of course I would! Of course I would! Of course I would!
It's not a serious question.
Of course I would!
Oh,
Set a Discovery Foundation for this weekend.
Turn it down for it.
No,
They are there to the
yeah.
end, you're right.
Absolutely.
Completely and utterly right. They're there to the end.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
And it was
but
great
that's
to hear
what-
him say that.
But what I will say is
Brilliant.
that's not to say Ratford or Johnson don't deserve one.
No.
Oh,
They have
absolutely.
had
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Percival
And
shouldn't.
absolutely.
But-
I don't think that's.
I think that's the thing about having more international rugby. If we knew
Yeah.
when these guys were playing again for England, we
Absolutely.
could make that decision.
Yeah, yeah.
But the likelihood is that if the programme is announced as it has been planned, these guys will become British Lions and go abroad at the end of the year, which is not the next England cap. Not necessarily even Wayne Bennett as the coach of the Lions. That they presumably would have a different management team.
possibly.
Because there'd have to be some.
I would imagine Wayne Bennett's got the national job for as long as Wayne wants it.
But that's not the Great Britain job, is it?
He'll have they'll offer him the Great Britain job as well, without that bit.
So
Well,
wouldn't
it's
it be
part of our
nice for
international side.
everybody to know that the next 4 years those internationals were set in stone, and he perhaps could blood a young player next week if he wanted to.
I don't think Wayne has that false fit, certainly internationally. No, he wants players who certainly buy into the way that he wants to play, both on and off the field, but also as well. He will not sling testers out like confetti.
So what do we
No.
do next with the Knights? Because I think we all agree that's a really valuable concept.
Absolutely.
Goes back
Go with
to.
it again.
So,
Yeah, correct.
so who are they playing? Where, do they now go back to the Southern Hemisphere
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
life experience?
Yeah.
Well, they come over here. We played a test match series against Tonga and Samoa one year over here.
Tongans
Yeah,
were messing
Tonga,
around.
it was for Tuli Talanoa, Phil Lee Radford in.
Yeah.
He's not playing for him. I think he's going to get his own.
Talanoa, Phil Radford?
Yeah, behind the
You
post.
kidding?
Yeah, dead serious. Have a look at it. For Tuli Talanoa,
It
what he's
would-
coach, giving him a good
They
ad.
wouldn't do it
It's
now.
great
would they?
fun,
I
honestly.
don't-
Aaron Adley every
I don't think he'd do it now, but
No, listen, I think Rad's going to get his own.
yeah, I'm sure he will.
Pre-season,
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will. But no, I'd sling him down the Southern Hemisphere. You've got to
Yes
sling
and
him
no.
out
Yeah,
again.
yes and no. Don't forget, the Tongan players and the Fijian players need some life experience.
Yeah.
You know, they need to come over to
So
England
what do we
and
do
have a
with
look.
Ireland, Scotland, and Wales?
Well, we've been asked, Catherine's asked, if we don't have a mid-season international next season, do we bring back a, quote, full-blown Yorkshire versus Lancashire? To which the
No,
answer, of course, is
no,
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 because
no,
it's died off with no one
no,
caring about it
no.
in the past. It was killed off when you were playing, Scully, and then it came back and then it went away again.
No, forget that. If we're going to go somewhere like that, it's got to be England against England Knights, so they can get ripped in.
Well,
like the Aussies do.
these are the two options, aren't they? It's England versus France in France.
No point England and France. France do not bring anything to the table
I
as
think-
far as that level of
I
international.
think now
football is.
they've got to lose, they do.
They don't, Phil.
Because they've got
Phil, they
double the players.
Yeah, but look at the
And
quality of our
when
players.
you play
But
in
they lost by,
France.
but they lost by 50.
Yeah, but
Early.
that was a lot of their players weren't available. That was an opposed
Yeah,
training.
but Phil, we didn't play our best side.
No,
France don't bring
that
anything
shouldn't
for
have been
us.
listed as a full international, to be honest.
Oh, and we're taking Tom Johnson's hat-trick away from him.
I didn't say it was
So
technically
it's a
away from him, he
conspiracy
scored a
theory.
hat-trick, but
Speaking of conspiracy theories, the fixtures are out tomorrow.
they are.
And as we all know, Wakefield always end up playing against a team that's been promoted. So having played Widnes and Lee and Hull KR twice in the past, wouldn't it be amazing if they played London?
What
We'll find
away?
Away, we'll find out tomorrow at noon.
We're told that we're
I mean, I've got no
Wigan
idea.
Saints on the Thursday, the
Oh, you're not
31st
supposed
of
to know.
July.
You've broken the embargo now.
No, it's in the
Is
trade
it
press.
in the paper?
So,
I mean, I've got the paper, I just haven't read it.
We'll
The
open the season.
Fixtures released midday tomorrow. Look out for everyone
Just
tweeting
after
the same things over and
Dave
over
Fern
again.
press conference.
Yeah, well, there's Leeds spoiling International Week, aren't they, by unveiling their new coach?
How dare he fly in on international week?
Oh, no. Peter said they should bring back the exiles concept. No for him. So we're going back to a trope we've had before in this programme in a previous place. The probables versus the possibles, England full team versus the Knights.
I think we mentioned it last week, that if you are going to have the British Lions, it can't be England by another name. So how do you get to a genuine representative team of 4 nations? June next year, you have a double header on one afternoon where Ireland play Scotland, England play Wales, and on that evening, the Great Britain Lions are announced. It's a test trial. And I think from the experience we've had this weekend of those nations, they need to build towards something. They need to play a team called England in a European Championship, but that needs to be England Knights. So you talk about the benefit of the players going down to the Southern Hemisphere. We also have an obligation as the leading team in the Northern Hemisphere to try and improve the stock of Ireland, Scotland and Wales. So we should have a full-blown European Championship which has an England team in it, on the understanding that that's Paul Anderson's England team.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think, that would be a good concept for the England Knights players to get together and play against the lesser nations in the Northern Hemisphere. When you're looking at a Great Britain team and you're looking at touring down to either Australia, New Zealand, or both, or them coming over and playing. When we're looking at that, realistically, how many of the lesser nations are going to provide players for that?
But you give them
the top
that
of your head,
incentive
how
now.
many? Yeah, of course you will. But there's not going to be too many, is there? Let's be fair. And I mean that with the utmost respect to the Welsh and the Scottish and the Irish.
There is a Regan Grace, but although we're not short of wingers, are we?
Possibly.
Morgan Knowles, who is a very good second row.
They're not playing for Wales at the minute.
Alan says
because of whatever reason.
England versus the rest of the British Isles.
The Celtic nations.
Just give it a nice blue and green and red
Why not?
kit.
I'd rather see that than the
England
Exiles, to be
Knights.
honest.
The England Knights we're talking there, or England?
Could be full England if it was a...
I just think they walk it though, don't they? It becomes a
So here's a question,
difficult one.
which you can give insight into. Danny Brough rejuvenates his career by going to Wakefield. There was nothing wrong with his career at Huddersfield, but this is his final payday.
Yeah.
You're the chairman of Scotland Rugby League. You've watched the way your team have played the first 2 weeks in the European Championship. It doesn't now matter whether they win in France or not, because next year's important. They're back in a European qualifier to try and get to the World Cup. Do you build a bridge with him and say, look, what we need is somebody like you who can get us around the field, who can have an influence over these domestic players other than taking them into the nearest nightclub? No, I'm joking. Would you bring him back if you were Keith Hogg and the chairman of Scotland?
No, I don't think so. But for the reason, I probably say this because Bruffy wouldn't come back. I think he knows that he's
bridge is
burned his bridges, yeah. And I just think he's a stubborn son, so that's knowing him personally. If I was in a position of not knowing him, but I don't suppose they do know him. They obviously dealt with him from the fallout from
Probably
Australia.
did the right thing.
Yeah, listen to it. Yeah, I agree with that too. I think Danny will know that as well. I just think that they've got to look
the
to
Scotland coach is now going to be his club coach. That Chris Chester might go to the.
But I think that's a difficult job anyway. I think that Chris will find out how difficult it is now, or has.
No.
Junkie are the same.
Week 1, Chris wondered what he'd let himself in for, particularly dealing with the likes of players not being released.
Yeah.
By week 2, he's quite enjoying it because it's an environment that is completely alien to what he does on a week-to-week
it's certainly good for
basis.
development.
Yeah, and that's why you take on a job like that, to bring the best out of the kid from Edinburgh Eagles who you otherwise wouldn't have ever met.
But you know what, Phil? You asked a question there about Bruffy. How would Bruffy get the respect of the players back in the dressing room after he let them down?
Just by the way he played. All he could do would be the way he played.
Phil, that's got nothing to do with the way they plays. The way that he let Scotland down, and the other 2 players as well. Bearing in mind, literally, there was just 1 game away and they knew they could have qualified for the quarterfinals. And bearing in mind, if Bruffy had played the week after, they would have won because he would have got the drop goal which would have got them into the quarterfinals. There's no way made Bruffy should ever play for Scotland again. The other 2 players, because of the way they let Scotland down badly, not just themselves, but also too all the players who were on that trip.
It just goes back to this thought that the best players should be playing international rugby league, and that's what's going to project our sport forward. And for Scotland, he is one of their best players. But you're right, there has to be an ethical code that goes around it as well.
The best players have got to behave in the best manner.
Yeah.
And how many times have we heard and
No, I just wondered.
case
whether
in point at times, and other players that I know that have not been picked internationally because the reputation precedes them, and you've got to toe the line. It's as simple.
So
as
do you know
that.
what, Phil? You put that question right regarding Danny Brough, right?
I just thought I'd throw it in.
And since the World Cup, and we're all still trying to find out, aren't we? We're all still trying to find out why Wayne Bennett doesn't pick Mark Percival. You know, and you're saying, well, it might be his attitude.
No, I'm
Hold
not
on,
saying
hold on,
it was his
hold
attitude. It just
on.
might be that he doesn't bring something that Wayne
Hold
wants.
on, you mentioned last year when they were playing someone, it might have been his attitude in training or around the hotel and what have you. And you're saying Scotland maybe giving Danny Brough a second chance after what he did.
I think the difference is the pool of talent you've got to choose from and the job that one
Surely the
player
pool of
can
talent
do.
doesn't make any difference
No, it
after
shouldn't.
he
I thought
let Scotland down massively.
Having seen, I mean, the one thing that strikes you when you watch these nations play at the moment is the incredible work that is done by volunteers and staff.
Yeah.
And some of the kids that have barely played rugby league are so passionate as Tommy Makinson was when he talked about he's doing everything for the shirt because the shirt means so. You know, the kids who play for Easter House Panthers,
But that's
it
what
means
Brough-
as much
but
to them,
that's what
they're
Brough-
not used to
no,
playing in this
No,
environment.
but that's what Broughy should have been doing at the World Cup last year.
Yeah,
Saying that,
absolutely.
because Cookie will say, and I'll tell you, when we have a few beers and all this stuff,
No, I
there's a
get
time
that.
and place for everything.
And
Not exactly what he did in the other
Liam
two
Finn is
players.
the exact opposite. That when
Yeah.
he goes into camp
Yeah.
with Ireland,
Yeah.
he is the guy.
But
that
there's
will
a time and
build
place.
everything
But there's a
around.
time and place to do things.
No, I get that.
And there was still a game to go. And
Yeah.
if Broughy would have played in
No,
that last game, they would have won because he would have got the field goal. There's
No,
no two ways
I just
about
think
it.
seeing it from Chris Chester's point of view, he needs a bit more quality to work with, and he's going to have a guy playing for him week in, week out. He could take with him into that international arena and be his general on the field. And whether you would give him a second chance to get to the World Cup.
The thing about it is, and I'll go to another article that I wrote on Zach Ardacre. You know, Broughy's misdemeanours by no way as bad as what Zach's was, but sooner or later the penny's got to drop. And it's generally too late for players.
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's generally too late, and the point of this is that if you continually get away with stuff that you do off the field and in your personal life with no real consequence and no dire consequence, then how do you ever learn a lesson?
Exactly.
So taking him back
Yes.
says to me, and would say to me as an individual, and I went through lots of different times in
Yeah.
my career, it's okay to do what you're doing
'Cause
because you're still playing rugby league and you're
Yeah.
still being handsomely paid and you're still playing internationally, and there comes a time when somebody goes, that's enough, son,
Yeah,
no more,
Yeah.
and your rugby league ability shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it shouldn't matter, and eventually, and I mean this with the utmost respect to Zach and to Danny Brough, eventually you become washed up and somebody else takes your place. It's as simple as that, and you will look back and think, maybe I shouldn't have done some of the things I did. It's as simple as that.
Close your ears, Gary and Phil. But I think a Hull fan has edited this page on Wikipedia because it goes like this. To the immense noise from the Hull fans, Hull-born Paul Cook broke through the Leeds defence and grounded the ball underneath the post to allow for a simple conversion. The youngster Danny Brough, it's a long time ago,
It was.
capped off an outstanding performance by converting the try under pressure to make the score 25-24 to Hull.
You could have kicked that goal shot, right? You could
No,
have.
but-
It's the ones he kicked from the touch.
Yeah,
Get for
kick
goal.
3 more.
Hey, listen, we
Hull
all
held on for arguably the
listen, we all-
best Challenge Cup final ever, overturning the old odds.
We all know Brough is still a quality rugby league player.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it, and he will.
And that was one of the greatest Challenge Cup finals.
He will bring what Waitford have been missing. But as far
No, I
as
was
being brought back
thinking
into the
more-
Scotland, I'm afraid to say no. But as far as rugby league play goes, and certainly what he'll bring to Wakefield, he'll bring that quality, and he'll bring. I won't say the massive X factor, but he'll bring the X factor. What has
An
been
X
missing?
factor.
What's been missing for
he
maybe
is-
getting
do you
to the
think
top
he
four.
is the key for Wakefield? That is the signing. I mean,
Well,
it's top 5 this year, so
Okay.
they need to replicate what they've done the last 2 years. They'll be in the playoffs.
the thing with Broughy, and if you look back at all of his career, when the chips are down, he comes out swinging. So when he left Hull FC and he was shown the door with myself and Richard Horn as number 1 halfbacks, and say that about Albert Kelly and Jake Connor, we spoke about that earlier. Something's got to give in that salary cap eventually. One of them will go, and it won't be Connor. I can assure you of that. He's the man. But with Broughy, when the chips are down, he comes out swinging. So when he was shown the door hole, he came out swinging and became a great player again. Reinvented himself, if you like. When the chips was down, I think he went to did he go to York before Castleford, or Castleford after York, and then avoided relegation, but ended up at Wakefield. Then ends up with a big move to Huddersfield in 2010. And the reason I remember that is because I went to Wakefield at the time to release him to go, and then he's got really comfortable for 7 years now, 8 years at Huddersfield, and he's probably spoken to Chris Chester and he said, "This is your biggest one now. This is your last chance, as far as not last chance as far as playing rugby league goes, but your big money move, your twilight of your career. You can be really good for us,
And being the main man.
or you can behave like a prat, and I'll flick you because I won't have that in my group of players." Knowing Bruffy, he'll come out swinging. He'll come out swinging and he'll prove a point, because that's the type of bloke he is as well. And he's a power man, and I wouldn't say anything I'm saying now that I wouldn't say to him. He can be as good as he wants to be, and he can be as bad as he wants to be. But when he's good, he's good.
Is there a partnership there with Jacob Miller?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It'd be difficult because Bruffy plays left, Miller plays left. Something's got to give there, hasn't it? I know Jacob played right at home, so there's a little bit of a contrast, if you like, and something's got to give with regards one of them. But he can be as good as he wants to be, Bruffy, at Wakefield, because they've got some quality around him as well in the
He'll get some
forward.
protection.
Because that's what it says as well, because as we all know, he's a Maverick player, what he is, but at times at Huddersfield, you know, he got himself sin-binged and then he got himself sent off. You know, that could be a bit of a problem for Cookie.
Well, he's not the saviour.
You know, the big games of this
But I don't think he's a saviour, is
No,
he?
he doesn't. No.
He doesn't. Because I think they've got enough
Yeah, they've got enough quality. I
They've got
agree with that.
enough
Yeah, there's good
quality.
quality around there.
And I just think
And you're going to want to
has
get the ball out wide,
Yeah.
because you've got two of the best finishers in the game.
I just think he needs to go in there and play footy.
Yeah.
And if he goes in there and plays footy and proves his point and has fun with it,
Kicks
Well,
them
it's
to
still-
the
it'd be
kicks them to the right.
Oh, it'd be valuable.
Well,
It'd be
yeah, the
valuable.
Richard's getting excited
I'm
now.
very excited.
He's gone.
Well, yeah, especially because I've already said we're going to finish.
Or it could go the other way. Early in the season, and before you know it, before Easter, everybody's out of the way.
We've all been bored, haven't we? You know, last season when we finished in the top 5, we can't make the top 4.
But I personally think he'd be great for Wakefield.
Yeah.
I think he'd be wonderful for Wakefield, and I think
And that's
it's
why
a real signal of the intent of Michael Carter and
Absolutely.
Chris Chester, and I think
New
it's a
chief
I think it's a
executive of
wonderful
Wakefield,
club.
we should say.
I think it's a wonderful club, and I spent my last years as a professional.
Michael's
full-time
changed his job today. Now the chief executive.
Michael Carter is. Well, he runs a nice ship, doesn't he? When you look from outside in, it's a really nice ship to be a part
I
of.
think it's more the mateship thing, because they
Yeah.
know they've got issues outside of
Yeah.
the playing group that only the management can solve.
Yeah.
But if you can create the right, whatever the word culture means, or environment where people want to come and play
But I
at
think
that club,
but I think they created that.
that's exactly what they've
I
done
think
for 4 years.
From the
And
£1 million game
Yeah.
onwards,
Yeah.
they've really created that.
Well, Michael
Wow.
Carter said that.
Wonderful.
Michael Carter said that.
Bruffy
in
won't
a piece.
upset that, will
He said it's in the league expression. He knows what he's getting with Bruff and the maverick what he is and
Yeah.
the personality what he is. But
He's manageable, bro.
Oh yeah. We'll have a show with Bruffy. If Bruffy's happy,
Yeah.
then he'll be a great asset to Wakefield. There's no two ways about that. And I think they know some of managing. Chester knows some of managing.
Chesney spent lots of time with him at home.
Yeah.
You know, he's
So-
seen the good and the bad and the ugly. And you know, listen, it's not no secret with Danny Bruff. It's not rocket
Wait,
science.
you were saying under a salary, you weren't under a salary cap sport, but when you played, big name comes in, other players thinking probably on more money than me, knock on the chairman's door. That's not going to happen in a salary cap sport.
Well, it doesn't happen nowadays, does
It
it?
doesn't happen anymore.
Doesn't happen nowadays.
So there's going to be no upset.
And remember in the past, when Mr. Carter has had the hard decisions to make regarding the likes of Kevin Locke and Tim Smith.
Well, I told you that Kevin Locke. When Wakefield signed Kevin Locke, and
Wakefield
I read
Kevin.
to you what Wakefield doing there.
Yeah, Super League,
You
yeah.
stuck up for him, Shaw, right? Mark Wilson stuck up for him. I think Mr. Kappa stuck up for him. It was an absolute disaster. Kevin Locke.
He is
Do
still,
me a favour.
I think, the number one Kevin to play for Wakefield in the Super League era.
Henderson.
Kevin
Kevin Henderson was outstanding.
Kevin Henderson, Kevin Penny, and Kev King, who played about 3 games. So there's great Kevins of Wakefield of our time. I should say, while we're talking about Wakefield on this little bit of the programme, thanks to James from the club inviting me to the community trust dinner on Saturday. Very informative to see what the people behind the scenes do with probably a tiny budget to get people involved in rugby league, be they women, men, children, physical disability, learning disability, all these things. They get people involved in our sport, and they promise you get more credit, these trusts and foundations, Phil. Obviously you know far more about them than I do.
I just think it's the way to go. I think the great strength of the sport outside of the players that play it, who are the number one asset, is the links we've still got with community. It's all on now being a full-time club, just to manage the playing and off-field side. I think setting up a charitable foundation to go out and do your community work to get people, and it's not just rugby now. I think the one thing that you probably learned from Wakefield, because everybody's trying to do, is they're getting into dementia awareness, cancer support, health is as much as rugby. And yeah, of course, the idea is that people will come down and watch your team play, and maybe you might convert them into season tickets. But this is about going out and doing the right thing in the area that you habit, and I think a lot of clubs are doing that really, really well at the moment. And that is the future. We just need more of it, because it's a charitable trust. Again, the money that it brings in, it can't be taken by the club. It's all completely separate. It's subject to a different set of regulations. So, gone are the days where a club might say, oh yeah, I'll just bring some money out of that department and put it in that one. You can't do that with a foundation. So yeah, more power to them, but then I would say.
Yeah, it's great work. Yeah, it's great work by because, but also too, when we mentioned Bruffy coming to Wakefield, Griggs has gone to Huddersfield as part of as their set on. Is he still going to be playing?
Yeah, he's going to play. He's registered as a player, but he's going to go on the coach.
And then the winger they've just signed now from Manly, the ex-Australian winger.
Noati.
So Huddersfield then they're setting out the stall, aren't they? So I reckon with the competition next year, Catalans are looking for the top four. Wakefield with the sound of the Bruffy. Huddersfield next year, Cookie. Can they make the top four?
They was very, very good at the end of the season, wasn't they? You're kind of liking it, or
Honeymoon parents, they finished now for Wolford.
But then you said that about St Helens when Cunningham goes and Justin Holbrook takes over the honeymoon period, and then all of a sudden you think, if he gets hold of them for a pre-season, Holbrook, and all of a sudden Barber comes in, or a couple of tricks. I think they've signed the halfback as well, haven't they?
Yeah, I've heard about him from Canterbury. Yeah. Counties.
I disagree. I've seen him play. I think he goes okay. I think he'll be okay in the British game. But so you look at them and you think a full pre-season with Wolford. The way they finished the season, they was close to winning every game in the end. I think Wigan the only team to beat them. They could be an handful.
The only issue is depth of squad.
Yeah, true.
Although to counter that, they are starting to get some juniors through.
When you look at
got experience.
When you look at their juniors, and I'm not talking the juniors that they've got that are in the team now. I'm talking blokes that have left the club as well.
Oh, the King brothers.
Yeah. So they have, and Andy Kelly is the man, isn't he? Really? And he do, you talk about behind the scenes and people behind the scenes not getting enough credit. Andy does a wonderful job with the young players coming through at Huddersfield, and there's lots of them. And maybe they don't need a squad full of depth and top earners. But the kids, when they did come in at the end of the season as well, certainly didn't disgrace themselves in any way, shape.
And people like Darnell McIntosh will improve. He's come through.
He's going to play fullback as well, isn't he?
I think that they are looking to move Jordan Rankin on, which would open up a spot, which will be interesting.
McIntosh will be sensational fullback. He will.
Well, I also think that's one of the reasons they brought Scott Griggs back, because he can mentor him in that position, which makes sense.
Let's hope when the ball goes on the dead ball line, he knows how to kick it out. If it means finishing the top four.
He's crying again.
If it means finishing, if it means finishing the top four, let's hope he kicks it out of the dead ball line.
Top five now.
I've got 4 more things on my list of things I wanted to talk about.
What, great Kevins of our time?
Great Kevins of our time, yeah. If you can think of any more great rugby league Kevins, where to be.
Kevin
Tamati.
Oh, I forgot that. It was 19, though.
Kevin, can you remember that fight between him and Greg Dowling? Those were the Kiwis. That's what Test football was all about. And even just going down the sideline. That was great theatre, wasn't it? That was just what
but it goes back to tackling technique. The world has changed.
That's what international
there
sports
has to be
all
a
about.
duty of care.
Absolutely.
And I thought we saw enough physicality on Sunday in the England New Zealand. It was all above board and league. Nobody was ever going to get sent off.
But do you know what? I thought the referee was outstanding, because he let the period go on a little bit and he said, right, okay, I've had enough of this. Yeah, exactly. I've had enough of this. I feel the passion. The next one.
Yeah, and you talk about the referee. Are the Super League playoff games refereed differently? We spoke about that. Of course they are. Of course they are. If you just referee them the same, then the products would be better anyway. I believe that if players stop trying to bend the rules to the point of blatant cheating,
about wrapping legs on their knees when they're dropouts.
Well, that shot clock certainly needs bringing in, but also playing the ball into someone, get on with the game and stop trying to milk a penalty.
Well, even last week, Johnny Lomax, he felt embarrassed that he had to go for head test. He said, well, Oh my God, I thought there's nothing wrong with me. Well, Johnny, get up then. Stop pretending that you're hurt. Do you know what I mean? Last week, that became a little bit of a...
Well, that's I kind of spoke about this. You've got blokes that are going down injured holding the back of the neck for crusher tackles to gain a penalty.
Yeah.
You've got blokes being hit late, which is legal, but late, that are staying down. And how do you stop that? I mean, my theory is that if you get injured, you have to go off for a period of time.
That will make coaches
So
don't do it.
And if you go off injured and you pass, and it's not a penalty, and you get up and you play on, but if you do go off injured, you have to be off for a period of time. And when you come back on, the substitutions count. You've only got 10. It could possibly be 8.
Drop it away. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you've got ball players that have to toughen up. You've got blokes that won't take a chance on a crusher tackle if they're not really injured. And if you go down before a dropout, you have to go off for 10 minutes. Now, if it's a halfback particularly, you don't carry halfbacks on the bench. You have to rejig your full back line. And for 10 minutes, you'd go after somebody as an opposing coach.
I just think anybody who hasn't suffered a head injury, because there is quite rightly a concern about repeated concussion, which in the past we probably haven't done enough about. But if it's an injury that isn't anything to do with your head, game carries on.
Play on.
So if you're going down with a knee injury and a drop out, just the game carries on.
But you're not. But the black and white part of that is the referee is not a medical expert, and the top and bottom of it is you're either injured or you're not, and the game stops if there's an injury. Now there's no diagnosing injuries on the run. Never mind.
Unless
physio's coming on and assessing somebody. What I will say is if the game stops and you stay down injured, you go off for a period of time. It's as simple as that. Or you get on your feet and you play on, like in, let's be honest, Gary, in your day. If you didn't get up and play on, you got more stick off your team.
Oh, you did. Oh, yeah.
You know, you imagine being stretchered off and then playing the following week. There'd be hell to pay. And I'm not saying rugby players or it's gone soft.
No.
I'm saying the players are bending the rules.
And I think that's always gone on and can only be stopped by the philosophy of your sport.
The governing body's got to make a decision.
This year,
this is what's happening.
And
so if you go down injured, pre-dropout,
referees. I think we've got to stop referees going to the screen for things like who put that ball out of play. If you are on the field and you are close to it and you make a decision, that's the decision. If you're not sure if somebody's grounded a ball over the try line, fine. Of course. But if you want to just check who's putting it is at the scrum, the philosophy of the sport needs to be we're not going to the screen for that anymore.
But that can be done quickly as well on the run before the scrums even form. If there's a 40-second delay for any scrum, which is what I think there is 30 or 40 seconds in the NRL, what they are. And listen, I hate bleating on about the Aussies and what they do great, but the shot clock's fantastic. Nobody goes down injured, and if you don't do it before, if you don't get it out before 40 seconds, it's a penalty. Two referees cleaned up the sport.
They play the ball.
That's a financial thing. I do believe that's a financial thing for the sport. But there's ways for me to make the sport better and a better spectacle that we should bring in. The 7 tackle restart I think is fantastic. You've got to be accurate with your kicking. If you're accurate with your kick, there's rewards. And the shot clock, I want to see the ball in play. I want to see big collisions. I want to see people at each other, and I want to see the ball in play.
And I think 8 interchanges to bring, again, you're absolutely right, why we have 3 sets of laws, nobody knows.
Yeah.
But the one thing that apparently has happened in the NRL, and we can only watch on the telly, and I think you need to experience it at the ground to make a definitive decision about it, is that the exhaustion factor comes up, which means your creative players get more time, but also there's less injuries because you're lessening the collision. Instead of taking a guy off and it's staying at 30 mile an hour every time,
it drops.
It drops. Now, it drops and it's safer for the players because it's dropped.
Anything that makes the game better attacking wise.
Hookers then come into play out of dummy half, and half-backs have got a little bit more time and space.
We're in the entertainment business, that's what it's all about. But we spoke about...
hang on, Rich has got
He's read the paper.
I found something in the paper. Beth Kevins, Beardmore, Iro, Ward, Walters.
Kevin Ward.
Kevin Costner says Keith, but I don't know if he played rugby league or not. Maybe for the Jacksonville Axemen, I don't know.
It was, Kevin Iro, on his day, he was the best, but... he could be lazy for 2 or 3 games. When was it Leeds? When he were on, he scored 3 or 4 tries without any effort whatsoever. And then Kevin thought, I'm alright for 2 or 3 weeks. And the South stand, they get on his back, literally just ripping him. And then the next week he'd do the same, score 2 or 3, and just with simple ease. Absolutely sensational he was, Ira, from there. But we talked about Wakefield and Huddersfield from there with their players. Leeds, Ferner he's here today, it's conference tomorrow,
morning.
first press conference.
At 10.
Your favourite player at Leeds, Phil, he's leaving us. Garbutt, what's going on?
Well, who said he's leaving?
Well,
Just a bit- the
It's sad
picture
he's
of a
either
life, Phil.
Ulkiari to see all over clubs. What's going on, Phil? You know, we're looking to make the top four again. Losing one of our
the
best players.
first questions I would imagine David Finn will be asked tomorrow is, are you getting Trent Merry? And the second question will be, well, who's going if he's coming?
Well, should he not know that already?
Well, I think he will know that. That's why the question will be
I
asked.
don't think he'll tell you.
I think the question will be asked.
Should he know that already? But also, as well, the question is, does Mitch Garbutt know that he's leaving Leeds?
I think the last time I had
And also, there's another
contact with
question.
Mitch, he was starting pre-season.
Because you mentioned all last season that we miss Garbutt because of his size, his physicality.
He's the guy that could do 200 metres.
Can Leeds afford to lose him?
I think that comes down to recruitment.
Well, I think if you're replacing a Mitch Garbutt with a Trent Merrin, then of course you can, because Trent Merrin's a proven quality at international level.
He's a loose forward, isn't he? Not front row.
He's still a middleman.
He's a front rower.
They're all middlemen in the 8, 10 and 13 row, they're not.
And-
Particularly in the NRL.
And a
particularly
player
in the
who was
NRL.
playing Test rugby this time last year.
Yeah.
So
So you'd be happy then, after Garbutt was yours, you've been your best player for the last 2 years.
I
You'll
would
soon
say-
forget-
You'll
you'll
soon
soon
happy
forget-
that Garbutt's going.
Listen,
I
you'll
would
soon,
say
you'll
what
soon
they
forget about
missed,
it.
the big guy who could make 200 metres down the middle of the field.
You'll soon forget about it if Merrin makes 250
But if
and
Merrin-
he wins
exactly.
Lance Todd and
Yeah.
Harry Sunderland and the Man
And if Marty to Paris...
Leeds for the treble next year, the cookie going early.
No, what I'm saying
You're going
is-
early, you're going early.
What I'm saying is, you soon forget about a Mitch Garbutt if somebody
Yeah.
comes on the
Don't let the old fans hear you saying Leeds are going to do the treble cookie.
Listen,
Eh?
you soon, people and
I'm pretty
fans
sure
and
he didn't say
everybody
that.
soon forgets about
Yeah.
soon forget about players when
I think
somebody of
they
quality
really
comes in.
missed... One of the reasons they were poor last year was because they didn't have men in the middle that could make the tough metres. And Garbutt, the year before, had been that man, and he certainly was in 2015 when he came in towards the end of the season. He was an impetus to them winning the treble. Now, he did miss most of last year because he was injured.
I personally think the reason Leeds have been so poor is through the transitional period of Peacocks and Phil Uluai leaving, the recruitment's been terrible. In my opinion, it's been absolutely
It's
woeful.
3 years since they went.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying.
But
What
then
you ca-
another,
what you-
two went as
Well,
well.
yeah, what you can't do as a group of players or a boss of players and in your recruitment is take your eye off the ball. Otherwise, you go from grand final winners, treble winners to bottom four. Then you go back to grand final winners again. Then you go back to bottom four. There's something drastically wrong with the consistency of your group. Hugely wrong. And when you lose such big players and characters and don't replace, that's what happens. I think I've spoken to quite a number of people, and Kevin Sinfield couldn't believe the organisation that he walked back into,
Yeah.
considering
Was
he'd only
three
left
years.
3 years. Is it 3 years prior? he
Yeah.
left? So when he
Well,
left
he
3
was
years
still
ago,
involved
he
in
was still involved,
2016
of
because he
course.
was on the rugby
Yeah,
union side.
But
so.
so when you're considering 18 months, and I mean something as trivial as take your cup away and wash it, son. There's none of that now at Leeds around us. You know, I'm not going
And
to pick
that's
that piece
important.
of absolutely important.
Because people
Absolutely
will be
important.
emailing in. Remember when the training ground was flooded and everybody's going, that's not an excuse, but actually it
It is.
Because if you were to lose your home
Yeah.
and somebody said you're living in
Yeah.
a caravan for 6 months,
Yeah.
it does affect you.
And I do agree that played an effect on them that year.
But,
But-
things
but
like
also-
not washing up
yeah,
your cup,
of
that's
course.
part of who you are.
As DNA, part of the group's DNA, the characters of that group of players.
Right.
And to walk back into something which is completely and utterly aliens from what you left, there's certainly something fundamentally wrong. On top of, in my opinion, the poorest element, which has been the recruitment. You cannot lose them.
You weren't
Not
a fan
just
of Bo Falloon then?
not just legends of the game, but
Future
legends
Leeds
of
Hall
the
of Fame.
sport, and people that, in all honesty, drove the Leeds Rhinos ship for many, many years.
So-
I find
You're
that the
putting on
recruitment's
the
the biggest
hat
answer.
of the recruiter at Leeds,
Yeah.
and you've got two people coming into your office
Yeah.
who are out of contract,
Yeah,
but might offer you that DNA.
yeah,
Carl Ablett and Jamie Jones Buchanan.
yeah.
Would you keep them for another year?
Has Ablett gone?
It hasn't gone yet, as far
He's
as we
going,
know.
isn't he? Okay,
Well,
is that right?
With Kevin now coming back, is that certain?
But
They've
Kevin's
gone
not
very
back.
quiet on
Kevin's
that.
not back, is he? Kevin's not
Well,
back. But he's
director of
management.
rugby.
But he's
Yeah,
management.
yeah,
He's not.
but he would have a
coaching
say in
anymore.
that.
Of course, he'll have a say in it, but he's not managing.
So if
He's
you were
not
him
coaching.
and Carl's coming in your office and he hasn't yet put into
Possibly,
paper,
possibly. Jamie Jones, particularly DNA.
I think you need him there every day.
he's certainly not going to play the games he's played, and I know from
Yeah.
speaking to Jamie, he understands that.
Yeah.
But I think he'd like
You
to
need
do
him,
another year.
but you need him in the dressing room.
But I think part of the reason they went from bottom four to a grand final winners the following season, having finished treble a couple of seasons before that, was because of Jamie Jones and because of his experience and because
And
of
Danny
what.
Maguire.
Agree. But then that only lasts so long with players, younger players coming through. They develop their own DNA, and if nobody's driving that DNA and nobody's driving that ship, and it sounds to me like from Kevin leaving to coming back in, nobody was driving that ship, then it becomes a really difficult
I
thing.
think as well, because I asked Phil, and Phil at some time he just brushes the questions when I ask him about Leeds, because we all know the one-eyed what Phil is there. Liam Sutcliffe, where would you play him?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that.
It's about time he has a position.
Yeah,
he's got to find a position.
And you're looking at your Jake Connor scenario, an England Knights Jake Connor, if you like, with OSC. You look, he's a quality player. He's got, for me, still lots of potential. Who needs maybe to nail down a position. And you're right. Does he play in the halves? Does he play in the centre? Still a very good luxury to have on your group. Possibly, he's played centre, hasn't he, for the Knights on the right edge.
Played second row for England when he came on against France.
Yeah.
But again, that was an opposed training.
Yeah.
He's a loose forward for me.
But then you bring in a Trent Merrin or you play a Mitch Garbutt as a middleman 13, and you want some
And a
size and
Profits.
punch. Yeah, you're not going to play Liam Sutcliffe in the
Second
middle of the
row?
field.
Has he
It
got
depends.
the tackling
Listen, what it depends with David Ferner is which way he wants to go with his team. Does he? It sounds to me like he wants to go the NRL route of 3 big men in the middle with a hooker and the edges being able to do what they do. And I don't think Sutcliffe can play as tough a rugby league as some of the bigger players in the middle. So I think he'll play on edge. Whether that's as a half or a centre, I'm not quite sure. But that's for David Ferner to decide. And probably
That's the third question.
probably working with him really closely, day in, day out, you'll make that decision quite quickly.
And I thought less players would be going from Leeds to Hull KO now they've got a change in management there. Shopping more
With
different
Jamie
shops.
Peacock leaving,
Yeah.
Possibly.
Bits and pieces. Looks like Gary Carter's story may have been right in the paper the other week that the Magic Weekend will be heading to Anfield, which has got a mixed response from people because apparently there's not much leg room in the Sir Kenny Dalglish stand. There's plenty of leg room for me. After I got evicted from my seat by the New Zealand coaching staff, I had to move across.
You didn't argue, did you?
No, I had to steal BBC Radio and Merseyside's ISDM port, so cheers lads. Here's a letter in the League Express, because as we know, first page you always go to a letters page. This might be only one page this week. I thought they'd have loads of stuff to fill in these days, wouldn't you? But apparently not. John Hewison of Warrington writes about last week's test match. What concerns and confuses me is no one gets on the back of ITV because they didn't mention the first test victory for England on the ITV news. But it doesn't matter anymore because we've got a bright new shiny media partner coming to the beautiful, as Martin Calvin described it, Garden City of Leeds, and that is Channel 4, who of course in the last 36 years on air have shown kabaddi, sumo wrestling, crickets, probably some snooker, darts, Gaelic football, all sports which are massive in London where their offices is now, but now they're moving to Leeds, they're going to show Rugby League. No, they're not. Stop tweeting Channel 4. It makes us look bloody low rents. Oh, dear me.
Well, anyway, our governing body's moving out of Leeds.
Yeah,
Just the
so,
Channel 4 come in.
Yeah, well, what a disaster.
Good timing.
And if people can't see why Channel 4 show Wales Rugby Union Internationals and the whatever the European Cup's called now, and you know,
European Cup's quite big though, isn't it?
I've heard,
It's not
I
the
think
championship or
I think
League
One,
Rugby Union
The European
the champion.
Oh, absolutely, huge.
So
Championship
they're,
Rugby
they're
Union.
not. It's not comparable to Championship Rugby League.
No.
People perhaps haven't got that distinction.
That's that bit of the programme done. That's my run out of the way. So,
Just talking of foreign tours,
Oh, yes.
Barla are going to Fiji this week.
Mm.
Which again, something we should encourage. And
Absolutely.
you were probably the most successful Barla tourist ever in
Yeah,
history.
we are, yeah.
Was it?
83, yeah.
Virtually every single one of those players came back and turned professional.
Yeah, we all signed pro, yeah.
And that's important because we talk about the professional game, but you also talked about pathways. Starts with community players, even raising their own funds
Well, I think,
to go and have
well,
life
to
experience.
be honest,
in Fiji.
to be honest with you, I think it should go back to the structure when I was coming through with the Bala days, where because we look at the academies now and the scholarships, which has been it's been an absolute disaster. It's been an absolute disaster as far as I'm concerned. They should not be allowed to sign until the 17, 18 like it was back in our day. From there, fulfil everything what they want to achieve it as a Bala player. In Bala they'll still have Yorkshire and Lancashire. I think they still do. They have the tri.
It was
They
on
have
the
the tri
app at the
series
weekend.
now.
That was a good
Yeah, they have
year.
the tri series now and all the tours because, as I say to a few fathers who say to me, Scott, this club's looking at it, the lads might be on 11 and 12, so forget about it. Don't let them go. Don't let them go into scholarship because literally they get them ruined. They'll give them the tracksuit, they'll give them the bag, and then they'll tell them what time they've got to go to bed, tell them what time they've got to wake up, what they've got to eat, and all this sort of thing. Just let him enjoy what he's doing because at the end of the day, these professional rugby clubs don't go away. They've been around for many, many years, and when this kid is 16, 17, 18 after he's achieved what he wants to achieve in the amateur game, they'll still come knocking on the door. But I think now all this scholarship rubbish should be scrapped. Let them do what they want to do in the amateur game, and then sign professional.
Talking of academy, and as you're here, it's brilliant to get your insight on it. The whole merged academy, it's either going to be the way ahead in that we'll have centres of excellence and teams will come together and try and nurture talent to a quality that we actually need, or it's destroying the two sides of Hull and not giving enough opportunities to kids. Which side of that argument would you be on, having seen it in operation?
I believe, being at the end of that M62 corridor, 45 miles from Castleford, the nearest team, it made and makes perfect sense to undilute the quality with one team. I think when I look back at signing for Hull FC and playing in the A grade and the academy grade, there was blokes there that was never going to be a professional rugby league player that, in my opinion, filled a share. I think 30 players on one side and 30 on the other, or 35 and 35 squads, whatever you have, 70 players is too many because there's never going to be enough of them players come through. 30 quality players helps. I certainly think that helps.
So would you start replicating that now, let's say in the rhubarb triangle?
But do they have to?
I don't know.
Is my question. So I spent some time at Leigh. The chicken and egg situation with Leigh. You've got to be in Super League to start reserves, to have an academy, because if you don't, we're going to nick them. They're down the road. I'm not talking 45 miles away to Castleford. They'll nick them because they're down the road. In the same way that St Helens can do the same, Warrington can do the same, and you then develop players in the Championship that get taken by, and case in point now is Bradford Bulls. You know, some of their best young players are being picked off by St Helens. Castleford. So you've got to make sure that the quality of player that you're bringing into that academy has got a chance. There'll still be a couple that haven't maybe got a chance, but are still there. There'll be a couple of late developers. Maybe they lost to the game anyway because of the structure we're in. But I certainly think it's helped Hull and Hull KR. I think there's more players. And I don't know whether the score is right, whether you've got more or less players come through the old Bala system because the old structure was academy, then A team or under 24s, and all of that, or whether it's you get them at that age, you develop them and nurture them, and then they come through anyway from the academy system. I don't know whether there's enough evidence to decide either way which is the right way to go. What I can say is, from my point of view in Hull, is that I think the academy's worked. I think there's plenty of people within the academy structure there that get no praise. Jason Netherton coached the old I played with Jason and spent some time in his company doing a fantastic job with a number of other people headed up.
He's the Andy Kelly of the...
Unbelievable job. So is there more players come through that system than that came through yours or my system? As the
but
old
you wouldn't
academy
have thought as a kid growing up in the city that there would ever be any chance of the two coming together.
But I do think it makes perfect sense, not only because of quality of player and pool, at the end of that M62 corridor, you find it really difficult to get blokes from
Yeah.
Wigan, Warrington, Castleford, Leeds to come over to Hull.
And is it an issue which of the professional teams they play for? Does it really matter? I mean, there might be a kid that has a passion.
Well,
to
it
play
will
for
do.
one side
It
and
will
others
do
for the
eventually,
other.
won't it? It will do
But you want to be a
eventually.
professional rugby player,
Yeah.
don't you? And there's plenty that have played for.
What they are in the luxurious position now is that they're both in Super League.
Yeah.
So there's an avenue to fair square pathway through both clubs, and that wasn't the case when I came through. There was both, one was semi-professional and one was turning full-time professional in Hull FC. So there's no real excuse for Hull with that group of players or groups of players coming through them systems to not produce. They've got the best facilities, they've got the staff, they're on site, they're at Bishop Burton,
Access to the
they've
best
got access to the best
physiotherapy
physios,
and
yeah, everything they've got and everything that they
recovery.
need. And there was none of that. I mean, we've called Gordon Street Gym for me, and at the back of Boulevard, that's where we started out.
And do you
It
think
was
that
Ballard
would
Road,
have
it was Ballard Road at the playing field for us,
Yeah.
at
would
Ballard
that have
School.
Yeah.
hastened your development to have been in the
Possibly,
system like that, do you think?
or maybe an interesting conversation with Andy last I had a couple of weeks ago, a testimonial dinner for Danny Washbrook, was, do we modify them too much?
Mm.
Do we give them too much too early that they stop working hard for it? You know, it's freezing in that gym.
Yeah.
Get warm quickly on the rowing machine, or
Yeah.
throw some timber about because you're going to have to start working. You can see your own breath. You know, do we modify the young kids too much? Do we give them too much so that they become a little bit softer mentally and physically and don't develop as quickly? Does being part-time, going to work and then coming to
Yeah,
play
well,
rugby
makes you a
league
different
like
person.
lots of people that I grew up with,
Yeah.
you know, not many of them boys, they chose a career over a rugby league
Mm.
career, and you know, maybe they regret that. I don't know. I don't know what the right system is, but what I can say from Hull is, in my opinion, it works because they are very different to a Wigan and a Saints and a Warrington, who are on each other's doorstep anyway. They're 10-15 minutes from each other, and they can pick and choose players from them areas, and it doesn't mean a great deal in terms of 8-10 miles to travel to play rugby league.
We need to talk about two championship clubs in particular. One which you've just been mentioning, Lee, and the other one who's just taken the coach from Lee, which is Widnes. Although I don't know if I should ask Con's question about James Rule or not.
I'll answer.
There you go, Con.
I think that was the answer.
There, Lee and Widnes.
Yeah.
What? Do Lee have any players? They've got no coach now.
I think Lee have got two players who they
Two
don't particularly
players.
want. But I do worry about Lee and Keithley at the moment. I know they're making noises to say that they'll be around at the start of next season, but I mean, Lee is a classic case in point of the proponents of promotion and relegation. The downside is what's happened to Lee.
Mhm.
That if you aren't a club that can be as big as Wigan, but you do try and fish in the same water, it can hurt you. Are you surprised with the speed with which it's all unravelled?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think I could see it unravelling a little bit. I could see why it was unravelling a little bit. I understood it. There's some good people in Lee. The supporters particularly. There's some wonderful people, and I met lots of wonderful, wonderful people during 18 months there. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. It's as simple as that. And there's no real grey area in between. What I will say about Lee and the difficulties is that they would never finish bottom, first and foremost. So in the current climate we're in, heading into next year, there'd still be a Super League team. Possibly still be a Super League team again, given the fact that London are in the division and they're probably not expected to win as many games as any other team, which is the challenge for Danny Ward and his team. And I don't think he'll be shying away from that challenge. But they're a victim of their own success and then be a huge victim of their own downfall. But it's also really difficult through the middle eight system, which it was the qualifier system, to avoid relegation. It's as simple as that. I mean, OKR did it again this year based on being promoted the season before by finishing second bottom. So it's really difficult to then recruit a team which is capable, having been 8 to 10 weeks behind the top 8 clubs. It's just an unlevel playing field, and that's why whilst I was promoted through the system and was happy to play the following year in the same system, it's very difficult still. But I don't suppose that's any more or less difficult than when Hull KR was promoted in 2006 and stayed promoted in 2007 when I joined the club, because that was a real fight for a season to avoid relegation, second to last game, and Salford went down when it was 1 up, 1 down. So there's still that uncertainty until you make yourself an established club. I do think it's a shame for Lee, because I mean I was there when St Helens rolled into town on Warrington early season, and there was 9,000 people there, and the place was rocking, and the team was winning 50 points on Wigan, and it is a place where it could work. It certainly needs managing and carefully managing, and that's not to say it wasn't carefully managed. I'm not having a dig at anybody, but it certainly needs managing, and it's a difficult situation that they now find themselves in, and I'm gutted for the really good people, at Lee. And for me, if owners are going to spend the money when we need them in the game, you know, if owners are going to spend 1.8 million or 1.65 million, which is the cap, and full cap, then let's get them in the game and try and build the sport. And it's a really unfortunate one for Lee, and one I'm really gutted about.
Oh, we've still got a new coach.
He's a good coach too.
Yes, I was saying you worked very closely with him.
I spent lots of time with Kieran, even towards the end of my time when I knew it was coming to the end of the time through the middle age system. When, listen, I knew probably 8 weeks before I left the club that I was going to be leaving without being told. I spent lots of time with Kieran, lots and lots of time, and sat and picked his brain and had chats with him and watched him deliver and work and saw the preparation and detail he puts into everything. He's a good guy.
Just what Widnes need, because they're going to have a squad of young players who it'll be.
He's calm,
and he can impress upon them what they need to be to fulfil their potential. Which it's not easier than doing that with established players, but you're more likely to have a receptive audience.
Absolutely. And but even with the players of the Glenn Stewart ilk, he captivated them players too. Harrison Hanson, you know, the experienced players, Corey Patterson. So. Yeah, he'd be good for Widnes, no question about that. And what you'll get with Kieran is no stone unturned. He'll put in equally as much preparation to a Swinton away from home on a Friday night as he will when they play Toronto at home. You know, it's as simple as that. And he works really hard. He's a good guy. I wish him certainly all the best. And it's a real shame because I think he handled himself with real dignity at Lee through what was a really tough time, and how he held that ship together, and even I know some ins and outs of what he had to deal with day to day is a real testament to him.
I say because obviously he was under the pressure at Lee, not his own fault obviously, but now Widnes under pressure to finish top of the league and get promoted for Stanley.
I don't think they're under pressure to win it and get promoted first time. They're under pressure to be up there.
They need to be in the 5.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Listen, Toronto are under great pressure, aren't they? Yeah. They're under real pressure.
I was going to ask you about that because we've talked quite a lot about Toronto. I think we're, to all intents and purposes, fans of what they could bring.
Yep.
They haven't bought it yet, but there are some signs there that, not least with 8,500 people turning up who didn't know of Rugby League 2 years ago. That's a new market that we can't afford to turn
TV
away.
Company.
In the same way that you mentioned that we shouldn't be turning any owner with money away. If they said to you, we know you're a league man at heart, doing a great job in rugby union, will you come be part of our coaching staff? Was that the kind of challenge that would excite you? Can you see potential with the whole pack of doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I certainly wouldn't do it while I'm still contracted to any club I'm at, and it's the same sort of scenario. And I'm not here to talk about me. This is about the game on a whole. But I certainly couldn't leave the job I'm in for no reason. No, I wouldn't do that, and I never did that at Lee. I was offered jobs while I was at Lee, even towards the end when I knew I was leaving. I still wouldn't apply for other jobs, so I wouldn't do that. But yeah, of course it excites you. Of course that concept
that's a different
excites you.
coaching experience as well, because
a different life experience.
You've got a whole different strata of player that you've got to meld into a team. That part of the time you're in this country, and part of the time you're in a foreign land.
Well, let's be honest, they're attracting some players, eh? I mean,
to play in the Championship.
Yeah, to play in the second tier of English Rugby League. So, of course, that excites you as a coach. But certainly, any conversation, should it happen now or while I'm contracted, would be thrown away by me. Simple as that.
Exciting news, Scully, because I know you've been banging on about this for as long as you've been on this programme. The Yorkshire Cup's coming back.
Is it?
Apparently.
Yes.
That's what Chalmers has said so. But it's only going to be played for
Not
by
Super League teams.
not all the teams in Yorkshire.
So over the Christmas period?
No, it'd be a pre-season, but not.
Yeah, that's what it
Christmas.
should
It'd
be, yeah.
before the
Oh,
start of the season.
yeah,
But it'll
and-
be for teams in the Championship.
And what about the
and
Lancashire
League
Cup
One.
as well? Is the Lancashire Cup the same? Why
I don't
not?
care.
There's nobody in Lancashire.
Don't exist.
There's only Barrow.
Coventry.
Phil, even though I'm a Bilal lad, you know what I mean? I know where Lancashire is.
They're all
Wigan,
Greater
Leeds.
Manchester and Merseyside
Ah.
doesn't count as Lancashire.
Yeah, the Great Manchester and Merseyside Cup.
Oh, right, okay.
But the Yorkshire Cup,
Yeah.
apparently because
Brilliant.
the clubs who, I wouldn't say opposed Super League, but were the most vociferous opponents of what Super League were trying to do were Yorkshire-based clubs. Apparently they're now working very closely together.
Great.
So I think a proportion of them are going to play to resurrect the old Yorkshire Cup as a
Brilliant.
pre-season competition.
Which is great
Well,
because
so
they
they
won't be
should-
playing each other
Well,
again during
well,
the season.
well, everybody plays for, 4 or 5 pre-season games, so play for a trophy. Make purpose in the fixtures,
There you go.
you know, and the supporters as well, because it doesn't matter if the
They
team
do,
don't take a
they do
chance.
have to get it back off Huddersfield.
Are we adding
But-
fixtures to the...
but it's silverware.
That's
Are
the
we
only
adding
problem,
fixtures?
isn't it?
Well,
Are we adding
but
fixtures to part-time players like that to
everybody
the
plays pre-season, Cook. You know, it'd be
I agree, but you're
the
making it
competition.
meaningful. But you're making it meaningful then.
But what you need
if
to
it's
do
then a
is-
competition, is
Exactly.
it non-rolling subs? Can you not change
Yeah.
the team? You know,
Are they playing in
Are they
midweek?
playing midweek? Yeah, you're asking.
What you need
blokes
to
that
do
like
is
it.
bring the
Yeah.
Challenge Cup forward as a whole,
Yeah.
rather than reinstitute the
Yeah.
Yorkshire Cup and have that in the middle of the season.
I don't think it's fair to ask part-time players to play an extra 4 or 5 games for a cup, which.
And I
But
would
that's going to do it in pre-season,
but
aren't they?
some-
It's
but
pre-season
They've got rolling
games.
subs, sorry. You'd be making it a competition which would be uneven if you didn't make it normal rules. If you didn't make it 10-inch changes, blood bins, sending offs, it becomes a competition in a game. And it doesn't become a trial of,
And if-
I'll just try him at half
Yeah.
back when
And
we
if
could
you
win a
think
trophy.
that, let's say Bradford may well have offers to play Super League clubs in their pre-season, how are they going to fit in maybe half a
Yeah.
dozen fixtures against Championship and League
Oh,
One?
Phil, don't be putting it down. The Yorkshire Cup's coming back. Come on, Phil. The Yorkshire Cup's coming back.
Bring back
British Show Rights give us
You'll
the
be-
exclusive.
you'll be
We don't
presenting
play
it.
down.
You
Come
will
on.
be
I'll
presenting
present
it
the
at the
Yorkshire
final.
Cup. That's it. It's a trophy what I won 3 times, so
You
people
see.
can't have a go at me at that.
Exclusively read on the internet there.
Eh,
Although in
people
fairness,
people
everyone
can't have a
claims-
pub with me the Yorkshire Cup. I won it 3 times.
Everyone claims exclusives of everything these days. People are saying, that's we exclusively revealed.
You've got to get it back off Scully, the Yorkshire Cup. Not your,
No,
you've not got to get it back off Huddersfield, it's on Scully's mantelpiece.
Once it comes back from Huddersfield, getting it from him will be the problem.
Bring back
I'll
the
present the Yorkshire
Transpennine
Cup to me.
Yes.
The Transpennine Cup is the future. Bring that back and everything else.
Tres Tournois.
Yes.
That's what we want.
Yes. The Captain
Northern
Morgan.
Northern Rail.
Northern Rail Cup.
Where is the Northern Rail Cup? It's been replaced by a bus.
No idea.
They'll strike this week. So we've been through all the topics I had on my list, which is good, albeit not all of them in detail. I think there's nothing really to say about Anfield because we weren't there in the spectator bit, so we don't really know what it's like.
Do you know, it felt like an occasion. I would say that.
It needed more stuff around the ground going on, I think.
It was on the other end of the scale to the week before.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in saying that?
I
wasn't at
also-
either game, but I watched.
I think that you for Magic Weekend you want a party destination. There aren't too many. Newcastle clearly is one, and the great advantage of St James's Park is that you literally can go out and come back. But if the double-header semi-final is going to now be at St James's Park, and we've got a full season to market that, I don't have a problem with that. I think that would be something that people would buy
Anfield.
into.
Sorry,
No, the double-header Challenge Cup semi-final moves to Newcastle,
Okay, yeah.
and Magic moves to Anfield.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got 2 grounds there that rugby league
At
fans will
Newcastle,
go
it's going to be
to.
afternoon and night game.
Well, they'd make a weekend of it, wouldn't you? Regardless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
You'd
yeah,
make
yeah.
a weekend of
Yeah,
it. Particularly
absolutely.
if you was a fan of that club. But
And,
even
and I think
not,
if you thought, well, it's Challenge Cup semi-finals, they're both really. But we want to go and see a meaningful matches. So even if your team isn't in it, there's 2 teams going to get to Wembley.
I want the
And the
Aussies. I want the
bottom one's
Aussies at
great.
Newcastle next year. I want Aussies
Well,
at Newcastle
why
next year.
wouldn't you
International
have
Rugby League. We'll
the-
sell it out.
The
Sell it.
Challenge Cup double-header semi-final in Newcastle. Both games on the Sunday, but you go up Saturday night and have a party in the city. In the knowledge that they're getting something international either this year or the year after, but they're certainly in for something for the World Cup in 2021. And why not cultivate Anfield now as a rugby league venue? I think everybody who was there, I mean, Rich will tell you, my experience of Anfield was there was almost an awe as you walked around that ground because you knew you were a great sporting event in a location that was more than just rugby league.
a well famous theatre.
Particularly that
yeah.
new stand
Yeah.
that they built, it's just And I think if you were to say to people, you're going to spend a weekend there watching top class Super League, what you'd get is probably more buying from the people of Merseyside, because it's not unfamiliar rugby league territory than you perhaps have had from people in the North.
What about this weekend? The event this weekend, whitewash for England against New Zealand. How many we're looking at yet? Sure,
Well,
it'd be
well,
35,000.
It'd be well over 30.
So,
Yeah, so
I think the feeling is that fans want to be there to see England
See the
lift
whitewash.
the trophy. Because you don't lift a trophy that often. As an international team, they deserve the acclaim. But I think the other thing that we stressed last week and is really important this week is it is Armistice Day. It's the centenary of the end of the First World War. It's probably going to be the last major
that's next year.
for some clubs.
The PR told me.
It's going to be. There will always be commemorations of the First World War, but the 100th anniversary is as near as you're going to get to people who have had some direct association through their relatives of the First World War. I think there's lots planned around that. Obviously, England are wearing the poppy shirt, but there's going to be lots of other stuff as well. I think you'll want to be at an occasion like that to pay your respects. I think the fact that it's an Anzac nation and England on a field together when 100 years ago they were on a field together fighting for something far more important. There's all that you can meld into it. I think there'll be one or two things that will bring tears to eyes, and people, you've got to be there. We saw a clip on social media today of Jake Connor's pass, and no matter how many times you see it on television, how brilliant it looked, when you were there at the time and you saw it with your eyes and you weren't expecting to see it, it's 100 times better. So again, if there's a reason to go.
Well, I think the other reason
because it's such a wonderful experience.
was that tackle by Makinson on Proctor.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
They've got a bit of the two massive highlights so far of the.
But you
the
needed
two
to be
test
there
matches.
because you needed to hear that tackle. And I think
We
still,
could feel it on TV, to be honest with you.
but it's
you
not
could
the
feel it.
same as being in.
I
the
agree.
ground.
I agree totally.
And the way this England team are playing, I think you will experience Lomax coming into the line that created the Connor flick that led to the Makinson try. You don't really see on telly, but you do when you see the move unfolding in front of you live. So go if you can. They'll get over 30,000 for sure. Be a brilliant atmosphere.
England to win by 40.
14.
Whitewash by 40.
We have gone over time, but just
Have we?
We have. It's to make
Must have been enjoying that.
Last couple of things. Claymore 2 of 9 just puts Women's Yorkshire Cup or Roses match. I don't know what that's for, but we did say the other week they should have the a women's fixture at the Magic Weekend. Forget Summer Bash, which if you see, I've read a rumour this week it's going to be at Tranmere.
What to do there?
Just scrap it. If you're not having it at Blackpool, just scrap it. I know it loses money apparently, we'll just scrap it. But they should have a women's match at the Magic Weekend. Showcase the game to the biggest possible audience.
Although Toronto Toulouse worked having a championship game.
Sorry, the day after. Have really long days. And regarding the seats at Anfield, Dave says you talk garbage at times. I don't know what you've said. Gary's complaining that you couldn't buy one of those poppy shirts at Anfield, but that's down to our merchandising department. We're not being negative here. Oscar says the seating at Anfield was a bit of a tight squeeze. Gary says no room in the seats. Martin says no way could most folk spend 6 hours or so a day in those seats. And Gary also says it's okay for Phil sat on his throne with the big wigs.
No, it's just some small. I don't need a lot of
There's no
room.
one in the rugby league wig. Who wears a wig? I think. You were in the downstairs bit. Anyway, I was in the upstairs bit with what's his name?
Lording it up,
Wayne Bennett.
Lording it up, Kaplan.
Wayne Bennett moving behind me. Don't say anything while Wayne's here. So that's it for this week. That's all the rugby league done. We'll be back next week to review England's 14-point victory over New Zealand because Gary Schofield said so.
I wasn't far off last week. I said a score of 25-18.
You love a drop.
Yeah, but no one can. There's no.
Hey,
nobody's
listen,
gonna
Tom
take
can
a
set up
drop
for it.
goal.
Don't worry about that. Hey, listen, drop goals easy to set up. Don't worry about it. If that was set up properly, that'd have been easy. 7-pointer. 14 this week.
Well,
Shall I?
not 15. Not
It's the whitewash. No, it's 14.
Two
Don't
drop
worry about
goals.
2 drop goals. 14 drop goals to nil. Lee Breers has been called out.
that. By the way, I'm being sacked because I'm not washing my cup. Get lost, all right.
We'll see you on Wednesday at the Hall of Fame dinner. We hope you're behaving. Phil's going to keep you in check, aren't you?
We'll try. Good luck with
I'll
that.
be behaving.
Don't walk out when you award the golden caps. Don't do
Also, it's not Mick Sullivan because I checked. Mick Sullivan has got the same record as me.
Yeah.
Mick Sullivan has got 46 caps and 3 league caps, same as me.
Pal?
It's Jim Sullivan who's going to get the golden cap. So,
Was it on CFAX or did you get someone to find out for you?
I tell you, listen, do you look at CFAX, Tucky?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not
Oh,
there.
that's all
why.
it is all the information. 301, you get all the spots, Tucky.
Don't watch TV.
Well, I will find the winners of our competition out at some point this week, so stay tuned for that. And next week on the Table of Tat, if you're with us last week for the Jimmy Tarbuck story, you won't believe what I found. You will not believe it. That's unless my wife killed me with it, which is a possibility. Someone did ask us, what did Bernie Clifton do so bad? Was it just
Everything. Everything. Rubbish.
Did you get confused?
Rubbish. It was just absolute
I thought it was
garbage.
going to be Rod Hull.
It was absolute garbage. He charged 750 quid, and I get the blame for it because the vice president chairman has resigned allegedly.
Quick, turn us
absolute
off. Turn us
garbage.
off quick.
Bye, everybody. thanks, Paul, for coming. Phil for his hospitality. Scully for being Scully. Right, we're